Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back, NSDC podcast. Damn, we're alive, dog.
We're here, you know.
We're definitely still
We're
breathing.
here. As always with, the homie Elusive, you know what I mean? And the homie Sergio. We're back.
Episode 69, you know. Here we go.
Is it? That's great.
Is
Episode
it?
69.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, it's been a minute, huh? Shit. I don't remember
It's
the
been a
last
little
time we
bit,
were-
little difficult, you know. A little difficult to get together to do this on a timely manner.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. People been
for
busy.
sure. Yeah. But Sergio more than anything. Like,
Yeah.
No, it's you can't even say that
where in the
because
world, what was it, Carmen San Diego? You remember that shit? Like, where in the
yeah,
world is Sergio? Like, people were asking me, yo, he's not in his. He hasn't checked his IG. Is he good? Like, is he? I'm like, it's because I see the chef account. He's he was chefing. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
busy. I've been busy, you know.
leave him alone.
We're living that yacht life. He left us
Well,
for that yacht
well,
life for a minute.
let's talk about it. You know, like I know a lot of people been probably wondering, like, oh, where are these people at? You know, well, it's been
Yeah.
first of all, it's been hard to get it together on a time basis, just because, you know, since how long has it been now? 3-4 years, Elusive. We've known each other. You know, Elusive likes to be up to 4, 5, 6 in the morning, so he likes to fuck up our circadian rhythm. You know.
Yeah.
And dude, I actually laughed when Jesus said it the other day, but it's like, dude, we're getting old, bro. Like, I love to stay up late, and even now, honestly, you know why I'm up right now? Because I woke up from a nap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just like, man, big. I would say this year I've had a pretty big lifestyle change, man. You know, the past couple months. I know I talked to well, I mean, you're both Jesus's, but I talked to Doom about this a couple weeks back. But it's like, man, you know,
Yeah.
I went through some life changes these past 3-4 months, man. I actually, and I don't know if I've spoken to Elusive about it because I've been kind of busy in the street. But I recently left my restaurant job. You know, I'm still chefing as you guys know, but I'm not working where I was working before, and to be part of inclusive to that job requires that stay up late, get home at 2 in the morning. And when I left, there is another mission that, we will be opening a restaurant here pretty soon. Shout out to Ted's Burgers, if you know, but, it's just like, man, I went through kind of like a lifestyle change, I purposely, stopped trying to stay up late all the time,
Yeah.
And I just I had to snap back in. I had to lock it in. I had to refocus in on a couple of things, and obviously, you guys are the homies. I love all you guys and everything, but I just had to hit the reset button, on life. And I'll be honest, and I think Elusive made a comment a couple of months back. He's like, yo, you're always pretty stable with your stuff, and which is really true. Like I try to maintain that stability in my life. But I will say, with that little bit of concern, that life change, I feel better. I feel better, man. I feel liberated. I feel like a weight has been taken off my back. Still doing my thing, but it's like now I do it independently, and until we open Ted's, and it feels good, man. My mental feels good. There's a couple other things that we're working on. Obviously, but it's just. It feels good. It feels good to make that change and switch a couple of things up and just know that even in those moments of uncertainty, I always feel like if you're good with the man up top, I don't care what you believe in, or the man or whatever, UFO up top. If you're good with yourself, everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah. You've been wanting to do something like that for a while, man. So I'm happy for you. I'm glad you took the plunge.
Yeah, man. Listen. I've been in hospitality for over a decade, and at first it was kind of like an escape. You know what I mean? Like I had so much shit going on, and the restaurant is just it's so busy that it keeps you distracted.
Yeah.
And now I'm 37, going to 38 this year. in June. You know what I mean? And you kind of, as you get older, man, you start really putting like that perspective like into like big picture. You know what I mean? Like how can I change this? How can I readjust, or how can whatever? And my solution was like, I have to get out of the restaurant industry, bro, because it was literally like it's rewarding and like, yeah, it's paying the bills and all that stuff, but like I feel like now, instead of working 12, 13 hours a day, I could work 5, 6 hours and make the same money, man. So why am I stressed out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say the only thing that it's affected is maybe like purchasing power. But it's also taught me like a little bit of discipline, like it's taught me discipline and like, staying disciplined with like your financials. And, my financials, I've always been like pretty solid on that stuff. But you know what I mean? It puts things in perspective. And I think that my life needed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Like you're plugging leaks.
Yeah, man. And I did it for so long. And, like, again, I'm still chefing it up and everything. But, if I can go do a yacht job for like 5, 6 hours, why would I want to be in a restaurant for 12 and dealing with like 40 people's bullshit, like 40 people bullshit energies, 40 people's bullshit like excuses, 40 people's like, oh, I don't feel good. I don't care if you feel good. I don't fucking feel good all the time, and I'm here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, man. It really put a lot of things in perspective, and it's like it's almost like a post COVID, but mine was like a little bit delayed. I feel like post COVID, and I think we all could probably attest to this, but there's just certain shit I'm not gonna deal with anymore.
Yeah. Those are reset for a lot of people.
Yeah. But having responsibility of like having a son and all that stuff, like it was like the extra added pressure of like you got to show up.
Yeah.
But when I stopped showing up and I made the decision like, hey, I'm gonna pull this trigger, like regardless of like whatever happens, like I could always find another job. Like that's not, come on, guys, like that's not my concern. But when I saw like, dude, I can make the same, work less, like why am I stressed out? So I really just been like kind of focusing on that, and just trying to stay busy, man. Stay busy and connect with people a little bit more, because the reason why mostly I probably got into the hobby was being so busy, not having like I don't like going out, bro. Like I'm not a drinker. I don't like going out and partying and shit like that, which is it's always an option in Miami, and I can always take that option whenever I choose. But I got into collecting because I got into talking to people that are like minded, that maybe want to stay inside or don't want to hang out all the time and do other shit. So it's been good. Like, again, it's been a really nice reset for me mentally. We're hanging out, and it's it's nice sometimes, having 3-4 days off if you want, and not have to stress, and everything always plays itself out. We're hanging out, we're chilling. So that's my life update, man. I've been trying to really like my stress levels have gone down like dramatically, and when you start doing when I started doing that, automatically came with like eating a little bit better, because even though you may think, oh, you work in a restaurant, you probably eat great, and I do, but like, dude, you get tired of that shit, bro.
Yeah, just like anything, that's repetitive.
You get tired, you know what I mean? Like you get tired of eating the same thing, and you become also dependent on it too. You're like, oh, I'll just wait till I get to the restaurant, but it's like, no, like I don't want to do that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to be like less dependent on things like that, and just kind of taking care of business on your own.
Nice.
So
What you guys been up to?
it seems like you've been having fun doing it too on the stories.
Yeah, and I mean that's the most important part, man. There's and honestly, it only comes with like for people that are there listening, and I'm sure that this isn't going out to like an 18-year-old. Maybe it is, I don't know, but like this is the outcome of like putting in that work. You know what I mean? And grinding it out and making those connections and making those establishing those networks. Yeah. So when I did decide to like, hey, let me step away, right? Something that I've like almost held as like a crutch for over a decade. You know what I mean? Like now I feel good about it. Like like I said, if I want to go to work tomorrow, I will, and if I don't, I won't. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
As long as the rent's paid, mouths are fed and everything, man. Like come on, like why have I been stressing out so many years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's a question only you can answer, but it makes sense. Yeah, but
Yeah,
it sounds like you're in a better headspace, like you said, man, and that's a great like relief too, man. Like you mentioned, like if you don't feel like going to work that day, especially the amount of responsibility you used to have because of your positions,
yeah,
like that was just adding more stress to you. And for
yeah.
what? Like we talked about before, for what? You were building someone else's business.
Yeah, and I like to use the reference of someone asked me the other day. This girl was like, "Hey, like, do you like football? And I was like, no, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big team sport player. Like, I like MMA, I like boxing, I like kind of like lone wolf kind of shit. Because at the end of the day, when I play team sports, again, like I just said, I have to deal with the 40 personalities that walk in the door, and I honestly, guys, I was fucking like sick of it, tired of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I honestly, I
Yeah.
don't care if you're having a bad day. Like, you know what I mean? I'm having a bad day too at my work, fool. Like, you know?
That's
Yeah.
the thing about well, that's the thing about like military people too. Like that's a side effect of that. You know what I mean? Like not the people that didn't have that experience or that kind of discipline early on.
Mm.
See as they become adults, and Sergio's like that drill sergeant. You know what I mean?
No, but it's not even that. Like the people that are listen, the people that are complaining, like a server that's complaining. That's probably honest. Let's keep it a bug. You know what I mean? For sure, making double what I'm making. What the fuck are you crying about? You know what I mean? What are you complaining about right now?
Oh, that's
Like,
crazy.
Yeah.
shut the fuck up. Walk in here, get your money. Do your job, and fucking leave. It's just that simple. Like, if you do that, then I have nothing to say to you. And I've always said that to my cooks and the people that I work with. If you do the right thing, it leaves me nothing to say. I have nothing to say to you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people always want to come in and like, I'm breaking up with my girlfriend. I don't give a fuck, dude. I don't care. You know what I mean? I need to get this shit out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even have a girlfriend. There you go. That's my solution to it. Boom, get the fuck out. But no, man. Yeah, definitely in a better like better mental space. And I'll be honest, man. Like, when I do disconnect like that, I just disconnect with like a couple of things, and I was like, like it's not like I intentionally disconnected with like people that in my collecting space. It's just kind of one of
Yeah.
those things that happened. I just did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta unplug
I
sometimes
haven't caught
too,
up with
'cause
any. I haven't watched any posts. I know Doom like did a video the other day, but I'll be honest, I just didn't catch it.
Hmm.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Just didn't catch it, man. What's going on with you guys?
Well, you first, do man. You've been the busiest from all of us. What you been up
Yeah,
to?
Well,
I've been I've been I mean, same routine. I've been doing busy on live stream building the channel, doing
mm,
some turtle stuff, doing some talks, had a talk with Fausto, and then Nathan, True
True.
Blue, we do the hobby hangout. So
Yeah. So
it's been cool. I mean, we can get into what we're collecting or what we're not collecting later on, but yeah,
what
lately
what
that's
are you what are you collecting anymore, dude? For real though.
oh
Like
bro, you
I
see
always
it.
get
I've been
surprised.
posting a bunch of Mikey stuff,
Turtles.
bunch of turtle stuff. Yeah,
Mhm.
I've been on turtles lately.
No, I saw
Um,
that. No, I definitely saw that your turtles, but even some of that stuff, I feel like you've been letting go of some of that as well, right?
no, I'm only keeping
I
like
mean,
the Mikey
with Doom,
stuff.
nothing's ever off the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've been keeping the Mikey stuff because I'm trying to make that my long term collection. There's just a
Mm.
bunch of shit.
But are you having
Remember
fun? Because
all
I
the
mean, we
oh
don't. Sorry
fuck
to cut you
yeah
off. We haven't talked in a while, obviously, right? Like, but
yeah
are you as excited as you were before, like picking up Doom stuff? Because it doesn't seem like it.
yeah. I wonder why you think it's not. I mean, yeah, I've been having nothing but fun with TMNT. Honestly, the Marvel stuff, I don't even look at. I haven't even watched any of the Marvel movies or the
Mm.
recent show, like the Daredevil show. I'm just out on Marvel for now.
Yeah,
I'm sure
Mm.
I'll get
and
back
it seems
into it
like you were out
someday.
of Batman too. No, you're out of even Batman.
Yes,
So that's
yeah.
crazy.
No, I was in the Batman. I still have some like the top stuff. I have a bunch of that, but I'm not chasing the Batman stuff. No,
Yeah,
it's I've been watching the market, and I just can't do two collections at once. I'm a one goal type of guy.
yeah,
So if I gotta choose something, it's TMNT. Like I can't do
that
it.
makes
And
sense.
Well,
It's
thank you.
also, me. I like to focus on things no one else. I don't see throughout, so I don't see anyone kind of tackling that side.
Yeah,
The fun part is just finding all these random cards because it's not like traditional. Like when we got into Marvel, it was a bunch of like checklists and like go
yeah.
do research on like older sets. Not that this is like, yo, you got to find
Mostly promos and
where
stuff
they
like that.
get promos, where they put it in toys, like CCGs, like TCGs, and just random shit. So
So you took
that stuff's
basically
been
like the
super fun.
knowledge, that that you picked up on Marvel to look into other shit, basically.
100%.
Mm.
It's the journey is a lot more complex, and it's so much Ninja Turtle stuff out there. Like when people start to looking at it, like so going through everything, different eras of it. Me, I love that part. I love that ride when I get to
Did
learn
you
all
pick up
this
the
stuff.
advanced comics I sent you a while back?
No, I'm
See,
not
there you
doing
go.
like everything. I'm not doing comics like you did.
That's
Nah, bro.
that no, but that's that. Come on, that's a.
I got a couple. I got a couple nice pieces, but like, nah, I'm not doing everything. Nah, right now. I'm in there card focus, and then we'll see
But are you
if
trying
I
to be
get
a
back into the
completionist?
comic side. Yeah, hundred
Okay.
percent.
So you try, but only
Uh,
for Michelangelo or for all the turtles?
only for Mikey.
Oh, that's cool. I
I'll
see.
I'll stash some stuff on the side if I like it, but it's so much. I don't think I can do more than one character. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, I'll keep here and there. Like if I like one of the other, Raph's my second, Leo's my third, and Donnie's my fourth. But for the most part, I'm sticking to Mikey,
Yeah, that's cool.
and it's been cool to do that lately.
Yeah, shout out to iCollect. I saw you.
That's it.
I don't know if you influenced him or just got him to like
Oh, bro, I
you expressing all
reposted
his
his.
pictures. Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that.
reposted stuff today. Yeah, I know he left a comment on one of my other like, oh, I need to get a pack. I think it was a promo pack I found. So yeah, it's been cool to see like the other people that know or get into it too. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah,
Because you just don't see the stuff every day, and yeah,
yeah.
man,
For
just
sure, I would
growing
say
that
that for turtles, you see more like comics and toys more than
comic.
anything.
And like people have done comics, there's experts there. You know what I mean? Like there's people who have insane. Like I'm never gonna catch them.
Yeah,
But I've always been a card guy, so it's just
makes
I
sense.
decided I'm like, hey man, let me just keep looking at this. It really started with Sergio giving me that those playing cards, kind of got me hooked. Um, and shout out to Will. Will gave me one of those new playing card sets. And I'm like, man, what other Mikey shit is out there? Mikey's always been
Mine
my
was better.
favorite.
Well, I'm just saying, bro.
I mean, if we're honest though, it goes even way further than that. It goes back to when you were picking up those one of ones from the
Yup,
Ninja Turtle set.
yup.
You know? Yeah,
And I had a couple, but I never had the Mikeys. Had the
yeah.
Splinter. I had the one where they're all four of them, the dope ass cover.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah,
Mm.
yeah, bro, it's been a while. And I revisited. And I'm like, yeah, dog, let me just go do this because I don't know. I like a good challenge, and I like a nice journey where I can like spread the info too. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I mean, that's what I like about when I talk to you guys because as much as we do have in common, like I've not that it's a bad thing. Obviously, every to each their own. Like we always said this, but I've always tried to understand the way you do things, and have
yeah.
especially when it
Oh
comes to like your approach to like when you assemble and disassemble collections. That's the
oh
one I've been like surprised
yeah.
by the most. But it's interesting that you. I mean, once you break it down, I get it, and it makes sense because, like you said, you kind of narrowed it down to what's the most nostalgic for you more than anything, and
Yeah.
you finally got that like a clear image in your head. Because before, I think even as you were like, undoing and doing collections, like even Batman, you thought that might have been it. That's the
But
one that surprised me the most because
the
sometimes I'll be on
Batman,
eBay, yeah,
oh yeah, the promo card I'll put
yeah, and
up.
I'm like, what is he
The
doing over there?
the Batman one, what's difficult thing for me, and I talked to Tim a lot about this. I can't like I fell in love with Batman the animated series. It's hard for me to like choose characters. Even when this Upper Deck DC started, like I was trying to plan for months. Like, all right, what's my strategy gonna be? Am I gonna go for this character, that character, or like, am I just gonna go for animated? And I just couldn't make up my mind. Like, it's too much. I like it all, so I really can't. I know I can't collect it because when you get into like, especially modern sets, numbered sets, you gotta have like a strategy. If not, you're gonna get lost in the sauce. And for
But
me,
but
I'm
but sorry to cut you
it's all
off.
gonna go away.
But here's what's contradicting about that. You
Mhm.
same thing with turtles. Like there's multiple characters, not just the four turtles. Like you said, Splinter, Shredder. But
Yeah,
you weren't able to narrow it down to Mikey. How come you weren't able to narrow it down to a
I
character in
can't.
Batman?
I couldn't lock into it because I even growing up the entire show, like I always liked all the villains. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
Poison Ivy, it was Catwoman, it was
Mr. Freeze.
uh, Harley, Freeze, Two Face. Two Face probably one of my probably the closest
Yeah,
to choosing one. But a lot of the artwork that I saw from the comic book side, like the covers, when I would just go look at covers, because
they're tough.
I didn't grow up looking at we didn't grow up looking at the comics, right? So this is
Yeah,
gonna be new artwork. I just didn't like the way they did it because the way they did it animated is so different. So what
yeah,
I
they
am
did.
nostalgic to is just one style, and it's all Bruce Timm. And
Yes.
yeah, I can try to keep going that collection, but like that means I'm inactive for like every set, and you get FOMO. You get the hype comes around, you want to participate. Like, oh, what's the point? I mean,
Mm.
That FOMO feeling that you say to me is definitely dead, bro. I'm not missing out on anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
well, because you have
I'm
your
a big
main
believer in like
collection
at
set
this point like
already.
whatever is for you is for you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Plus, you
Yeah, but
like the
but
Doom
to Doom's
stuff.
point, yeah,
You
it's easy
have
to
it.
say
You
that
like
those. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's easy to say that because it's like it's the same to me. It doesn't hold a lot of weight. Even like I saw, like you mentioned, the episode you did with Norn, great episode. Still waiting on Norn's call. But in that episode, like it's easy to say you're done at a certain point because look what you have amassed, right?
Mm.
Same with you,
yeah.
Sergio. It's easy for you to say like, oh yeah, I'm not really missing out on much because you at least have 80 to 90% down of what
Yeah, I still got like 90%. I will say
Yeah.
I did sell the Doom Diamond the other day. So
Oh, nice. What'd you
you
sell it
know,
to? Publicly or privately?
no, it was on eBay.
Oh, nice.
It's funny because the same seller a couple months ago, probably like right after I think like New Year's, right?
Hmm.
Like listen, I put it up OBO, just to give people like like reach for the stars, bro. Like what do you want to offer on it? You know what I mean? Like I have an idea in mind, and I think he offered me like 300, and I laughed, bro. And I said, listen, dude, I've had this shit for a long time. This could literally sit in my fucking my desk over there. And it's not gonna change, bro. Like it's like you need to come up on your offer, bro. And surprisingly, the same guy that did the initial offer bought it. So he bought that. It's
Price? Wow.
probably like a CGC or PSA or whatever.
Nice.
But I actually sold that surprisingly. I wasn't like trying to actively sell it, but like it's the same guy. Like so, he
That's
was he
dope.
was pocket watching for a while, and he's like, "Fuck, this guy's not budging."
Yeah, he was.
I
Yeah,
told
he
you
was listening to Sergio.
that
He was
shit,
trying to tell
bro.
Sergio why I wasn't going to sell for that price.
It's just not gonna happen, bro. It's not gonna happen.
And Sergio was like, "Bro, you made me put pause on Capcom just to tell me that
Yeah,
you were
like
trying to give me 300."
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's I don't know, like that feeling of like missing out, whatever. Like I haven't even really been looking. I will say, I bought one thing, and it's something that I already have, but I bought a dupe of it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And you guys have seen it, the Marvel superheroes. That's all I'm gonna say. You know what I mean? Shout out to the pocket watchers out there, the people that like to listen and
Yeah.
follow suit.
Yeah.
You probably won't see that till I get it graded, and even then, it's like the question is when am I even gonna grade that? You know what I mean? Like I'm sure that there's some kind of drama. I'm totally out of the loop with that shit. Like I'm out of the loop on the drama. I don't know who's talking shit about who. I don't care. What CGC mistake is. What mistake they're making now. PSA slabbing. I don't know. We talked about that for a year ago. It's still here we are. I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah.
I've been watching some content like from a variety of different mediums and channels and things that have nothing to do with each other. But one thing I've noticed across the board is that for sure there's like an uptick in content again.
Mm.
Like at least from what I'm watching on like the Pokemon side, on like watches side, on just different collectibles, different markets. But it's just crazy to see the amount of people, even sports cards. A lot of guys that were like, they were active, but they weren't as active. They weren't pushing content as much as they used to at one point. All of a sudden now, everybody's and then another thing I don't know if you noticed, like it's always been around, but it wasn't like as heavy as it is now. Have you guys noticed that a lot of people are now doing the POV of the seller's perspective on all their videos now?
Yeah,
Like
like
showing the
this is
sale.
coming in, that's going out, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, listen, I'll be honest. I think that's a good thing because, and I'll give Marvel as an example. How much better would it be for the market if, like, people knew that instead of like all these backdoor deals that have happened for so many years? You know what I mean?
yeah. No,
Like,
yeah. Even in
it
sports,
like
it's
you
real.
want to, and that's the funny thing. Like, and again, not to throw salt on the wound here, but you know, the people that say that they want to grow the hobby and all this stuff are the same people that'll do the backdoor deals and they'll put the price public. So how is the public supposed to know what this shit costs? You know what I mean? Like, how you're supposed to bring exposure, you have to expose it to do that. You have to expose the hand and be like, look, this is what I bought it for. This is what I'm selling for. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think let's be honest. And there's like there's people like let's say I'm the seller, and I'm okay with exposing what it was. What if this? What if the buyer didn't want me to say? Or what if the buyer doesn't even want to be on camera, let alone me document the whole thing?
Well,
Yeah.
we're in 2025. Get over it. You know what I mean? Like, fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Look, right now, like I didn't tell Luca what I sold it for. I guarantee he probably already looked it up on 130 point. Like, oh, let me see what search sold. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's accessible like that. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy. I haven't seen it.
but to bring exposure, like especially in a small hobby like Marvel, like I don't think it should be on some backdoor deal like kind of situation or on a group chat or whatever. Like again, it just makes it hard for people that are coming in to like kind of even remotely even know like where they stand with certain things. So. Nah,
Well, yeah.
I've seen it too. Like obviously, like especially now, and not to get like political, but with all these like tariffs and all that, like, people are getting scared and like this and that, and I was actually watching because you're talking about reselling. I was sometimes I get like sneaker like hype beasts like videos and shit on my algorithm,
Mhm.
and this guy is like, oh, like the shoe market's gonna go back up, and it's like, dude, no, it's not. Like it's not gonna go back up, dude. Like people got hosed on shoe market playing like 2x for retail stuff like that. Like I think that fad right now because I think it is a fad. I think it's dead. Like I think that what they're going to walk into is like the next year, regardless of tariffs or whatever tariff, whatever the shoe market, especially shoes coming from China, all right? Like someone's going to fucking foot the bill, and I don't think it's going to be the buyer because the buyer's going to look at that shit and be like, I'm not buying that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the person really that's going to shoot the bill or eat the bill is going to be the person holding onto the inventory. And then what's just going to happen naturally, just like anything else, hey, I'm overstocked, whatever. Hey, mark it down. Let's try to sell it. And then, there goes the sell out for the shoes. Uh, same thing with the Pokemon. Like Pokemon's a little different though, because, you have all the scalpers, like all the shoe resellers went to scalping Pokemon and that was the play. And it's like, after a while, it's like, guys, like we've seen this like time and time again. There's
Mhm.
only a certain amount of time before like the market just like, collapses and bottoms out.
Especially to me, it's so. I mean, I'm tired of even talking about it when it comes to Pokemon, but I agree. Like their market is, we always said, it's definitely bigger than ours, definitely healthier. But at the same time, I see some of these reels, and I've sent them to Doom for like at least the past 3 4 years, where a guy does a purchase for like fucking 70 or 80 of the exact same card, and it's never like a Gengar or Charizard. It's always like an obscure ass, character. I'm like, dude, you really think you're gonna move that many?
Well,
Like, and what happens if people just stop giving a fuck about that card and you're holding on to 80 copies? Like,
well,
this is coming from me that likes to have like multiples of one, but like I stop at usually like three. And sometimes even when it gets crazy, I've never gone past five, I don't believe. You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, and with the with the Pokemon thing, it's like I said it too because I told you guys I went to Collecticon and just to see something else instead of going to MegaCon. I didn't go to MegaCon this past year. I went to Collecticon and it was cool. Like it was cool to see like a different hobby, different negotiating tactics with these guys and whatever. But at the end of the day, the one thing that I would tell my boy Ted, I'm like, but Ted, like to Luce's point, when every single SIR card or a special illustration card for the people that aren't in the know, it's like the full art, right? Like the one that doesn't look like a regular Pokemon, it's like a full art on the
Yeah.
card.
Yeah.
When every single card is up and you're not buying the Spider-Man, what is the point? Like, I don't understand why you keep buying this lame ass character like
Yeah,
over and over. Because the market's going up.
yeah.
And
Unless you collect them, obviously. But if you're not gonna PC them, I don't know what you're doing.
but if you're like, to your point, but if you're trying to buy like five to resell,
Yeah,
like, sell the shit now, because like it's just a matter of time. And I said that probably, when I was at the Collecticon, it's only a matter of time before this shit bottoms out. And to your point, what's going to remain, what's going to become, what's going to hold its value is the Spider-Man, the Wolverines of the Pokemon world. And I
yeah,
think that's what happened is, like, oversaturation. You have 10 15 cards, SIRs in a set, and everyone's trying to collect the same ones. Dude, I don't care about the side dog SIR, bro. I don't. You know what I mean?
and a good thing about that. Here's a good pointer for people that are into Pokemon. A good thing you could look for as well. Like Sergio was saying, like obviously the Spider-Man's Wolverines is like the Charizard, Blastoise, Gengar, Lugia, or different big characters, Gyarados. But some of the other ones that do, a good way to tell if there's actual value in an obscure character, and it might not be obscure, but it's definitely not in the top three or top five, is look at the sales for that set. Because one thing I have noticed, and I'm sure you've seen this too, Sergio, where, like for example, in Marvel, we've always known that when it comes to like Surfer and Gambit, they're not Spider-Man, but they're not easy to get. Their cards, right? Like the rare stuff. Same with Doctor Doom. That's why you guys were drawn to that character as well. Like how hard it was to pick up some of his stuff. Well, in Pokemon, I think one character that's similar to that would be Eevee. Eevee's not Charizard, but some of their cards sell for crazy amounts.
Yeah,
And you look at the set and you're like, well, Eevee's not a top three character, but it's so popular that the sales reflect it. You
yeah.
know?
I the Pokemon thing is wild. Just seeing the record breaking sales right when they pop up. Not like I look after them, but they appear in the algorithm.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about the value and how to what to go after, but it just seems like since so much is getting ripped open, just keeping sealed products is probably your best bet. Like it's uh,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want characters if I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
something. Like I'd
It's
rather
crazy.
keep a sealed box.
You mentioned that, and Teddy being a collector. I mean, like, Teddy's been making some pretty big deals in the Pokemon world, and most of the stuff that he's been buying compared to what he's selling is, to your point, sealed product. You know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, listen, there could be a reprint of Prismatic, whatever. That's fine. That's a new set. It just came out. Like, you expect a reprint of that. Um, but like the older stuff, like Neo Genesis, like the XY stuff, the Sun and Moon stuff, that stuff's not going to reprint. You know what I mean? Unless they make a new set of Sun and Moon or XY. But yeah, it makes sense to buy the sealed stuff.
Yeah. If you don't collect and you don't want to buy any hits, like Doom was saying, yeah, you definitely want to take the Rudy Alpha Investments approach, which is
I think
just
it's
buying
the
them with the
safest
seal.
investment. I'm not here to give you financial advice. I just think that the sealed product of Pokemon old shit, I think it's the safest investment
Mhm.
compared to buying a singular card of, like, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and I watch. We follow retrospects. I just follow his stories, and he's always updating his stories with pricing, and his
Inventory.
business is just you see
Booming.
after like just looking through every day, like you see certain boxes go up, 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 and then it's crazy. Like over like 2 months, what the prices are on specific sets. I'm like, damn, like it's just a way
You know,
different market in Pokemon. It's so
yeah.
massive.
You know what I would like to know personally, man? And I mean, it's obviously impossible, right? Unless, yeah, it's impossible to know. But it would be dope to have a breakdown of just in a pie chart, a percentage of, like, for example, if a new set comes up, right? Well, you can name whatever set it is. Let's say Pokemon 151. When that came out, I don't know how many boxes were printed. I don't know those the print runs on those, but let's just say it was 10 million booster boxes. I really would want to know what percentage gets opened by collectors, what percentage gets kept by sealed by collectors, and what percentage are people just stockpiling as resellers. I really would want to know because I almost bet that it's not the collector base that's absorbing that many. You know what
I
I mean?
it because it's so massive. Like I don't know. There's worldwide collector base. Do they open
Correct.
more than like the people reselling on Fanatics Lives or YouTube or whatnot. Like so many packs get ripped on those streams. Like you just imagine that resellers are the ones ripping the most, but I don't know. Like I have no idea. I have no way to gauge the collector base worldwide.
Yeah, of course, but that's what I'm saying. If we had that stat, I think that stat is a good indicator of what, like, to be able to predict things for the future of that product. Because, for example,
Hmm.
I would say that the biggest correlation would be if the smaller the collector base, the more volatile that market's going to be, and the bigger the collector base, the safer it's going to be to invest in there. So that's why I bring that up, because I would be interested to
Yeah,
know that across all things, right? Like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. I'm just curious because you know me, and or all three of us here, we
yeah,
always want to get more info and more knowledge. But that's something that we really want to know, and maybe it's possible in the future. I don't know. You know what? I'm thinking of like some kind of tracker, kind of like not card ladder, but something that would help you at least get a closer guesstimate than what we have now.
yeah,
That's a hard one, man, because I think a lot of the people, like, to your point, they probably most likely left another hobby, to come into the Pokemon like heavy, like financially,
Yeah.
uh
yeah.
and I don't know, like, I always laugh at the misery of others when stuff like that happens, like, the shoe market, like, oh, like, let me buy every single, Jordan cement bread, and let me buy, it's like, dude, like, it's not even that serious. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
enough shoes to go around, bro. Like,
Yeah.
they create this like false market. And the Pokemon thing, like, yeah, I think we talked about this too. We kind of, like, called it, like, when it happened, like when Pokemon TCG came out on mobile, Pokemon blew up, you know, and it had a solid run for a couple months, and now it's starting to cool down. And I think the cool down's a good thing, because again, it just stabilizes the market, like.
But one thing to that point, that's a good point. But if you notice, one thing, and I think who's mentioned it? I'm sure Retrospects has mentioned it, and someone else I've heard mention this before when it comes to their market. But one thing that they do really great is every time they launch either a new Nintendo Switch or what was that other Pokemon game that you would walk around with your cell phone? What was that one
Oh,
called?
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go.
They have these certain releases that all of a sudden draw all the attention back to the nostalgia that people remember, which is collecting.
Yeah.
So that's what you get, right? You get that little bump, and they have those little bumps a lot more often than other TCGs have those bumps.
Yeah, because they actually have releases and the drops that Pokemon, like, invest time and money into.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
They
And
promote their
I mean,
shit. Yeah.
I'll be honest, I think that was like the play of the year, man. To be honest with you, like the Pokemon TCG, like their release and into the card, like, boom and everything. I mean, it does suck, because on the other end, like, there are people that are missing out on their hobby, and like there's people that their hobby's being disrupted because resellers are coming in. But again, to my point of laughing at people's misery, guess what? All those boxes that you sat on, eat it now. You know what I mean? Like, are you still gonna sell it, dude? 100%, you're gonna sell it, but like not at the price that you wanted to sell it at. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's always a big wake up call for some of these like resellers, stuff like that. Scalpers, call it what you want, but uh,
I
you know,
think, yeah, I think that, and we might have mentioned this before, but I think that's the biggest difference what you just said between like a reseller and scalpers than to someone that collects and happens to sell at the same time. Because again, like even for me, for example,
which which are which I think are the majority of people, I would say, are buyers, collectors.
yes, but to your point, like there is people that you said that came from the sneaker world or from sports card, and they saw an opportunity in Pokemon. And the thing about them is, at the end of the day, like if they get stuck with the product, like you said, like they're not really into it, right? Like I'm not mad at anything I got stuck with Marvel, even if you want to see it that way, stuck with, because to your point, there's things that I could sell, but I'm not going to get the price that I want right now, so I'm not selling. But even still, like these guys are stuck with, I don't know, like you said, either a bunch of sealed product that they don't even want, or singles. This guy bought 50 Snorlax CGC 10s. Like, good luck with that.
Hmm.
I again, I don't know. Just outside looking in, I don't think those people are having trouble selling that stuff right now. Like right now, everything's moving.
Yeah, yeah. And he's not talking about right now. He was giving the example of like the people that stocked up on like certain sneakers, and now that market's down.
Yeah.
You know.
it depends what product you went after. Because I was collecting sneakers post pandemic, and even then, like a lot of you would see trends where certain things would lose value,
Mhm.
um, and people tried to like corner the market on a specific shoe. But if it wasn't like with a lot of things, you gotta have an eye test too. I mean, you gotta choose the right thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
And again,
if
that's
you
why you're the exception to
yeah
that as well because you're a collector. So you don't even
right.
count either as the example of only that
No,
reseller or that scalper.
I never had multiples of one, but I did like the stuff I liked retained its value or
Yeah.
increased. Right.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
And to be fair, and I do believe this like highly. Like a lot of the stuff that you see online, like the like Moses the jeweler. I know you mentioned
Yeah.
because I get into other stuff too in my YouTube algorithm. But like Moses the jeweler,
And,
the cool kicks guys up, dude. All that shit's fake, bro. It's all fake. They're all selling to each other. Those are not real sales, bro. It's just content. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I will say even with the watches, right? Like the one of the pattern that I've noticed, regardless of like the content that's been coming out recently, because I've been watching watch content for at least 10 to 15 years. And there is always like the wave of like the new stuff, and then it goes also back to vintage.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like they have their little waves as well, where like oh everybody's into vintage, everybody's looking for these cornographs, everybody wants like the fucking patina on the dial and this and that, and then next thing you know, oh we're into Richard Mille now on some fucking uh, overpriced G Shock shit. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Yeah,
Well,
it is.
watch your mouth. You know what I mean? Because
It's
shout out
ugly
to
though. You know
G
what I mean?
Shock, dog.
They're ugly though. You
What's
know what I
wrong
mean?
with
If
G
you
Shock, my G? G
No,
Shock held it
Richard
down,
Mill. I'm
bro.
talking about
no,
the Richard Mill.
no,
Watch your
nothing's wrong
mouth.
with D-Shock.
Yeah, watch your mouth with G Shock. I'm talking about Richard Mill.
You know,
You could buy.
I don't know
Hey,
about
there's
Richard.
better looking G Shocks than Richard Mills. I'll say that.
Oof.
Yeah,
Which
but that's
is
your
Yeah,
perspective. Again, you're thinking through
when it
your lens. You know what I'm saying?
when it
well,
comes to watches, I
that's
would
the only
definitely
way I
say
can talk about
I'm
it is my
I'm more
lens.
with like the timeless shit, man. Like I like I like yeah, there's cool vintage Rolexes, but like whatever. I'm not yeah, I don't really like the new like modern like Richard Mille. Like just to
Yeah.
harp on your point, like I like kind of more like of a timeless shit to me. Like
Yes. Yeah.
the old Dajas and the oysters and shit like that. Yeah, like
Presidential.
You know, we're all around the same age, similar backgrounds. I mean, we're biased to certain things, though.
We're all biased though, but that's what I'm saying. We can only tell you how we feel. I can't tell you how my little brother feels. You
yeah,
know.
he wants a Richard Mille.
Yeah, he might. And good shit on him if he gets it. I'll be
Give
like,
me a
hey, you could
Grand
buy another
Seiko,
house.
dog. Grand Seiko all
There you
day.
go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a little Tudor. You know what I mean? Get a little Tudor
Hey,
fucking watch.
hey, that's where shout out to Arthur, man, Collection Kings. That's where I side with him. He'd rather buy he rather
Shout out
collect
to
houses than Richard Mills. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Art is very smart, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
With
think
good taste too. Great taste, actually.
Yeah.
Shout out to Art. I haven't heard from Art in a while.
Yeah. Well, he's with everything going on in the Ukraine, he was worried about that for obviously for right reasons, and hopefully his
Yeah,
family's doing well. And yeah, man. Shout out to Arthur, man. Shout out to
mm,
Jacob too. He hit me up. Seems like he's
yeah.
still
Shout out
speaking
to
of people in the
Jacob.
hobby. He's still in the hobby, but he picks in and out. You know what I mean? That's what it seems like.
He's
yeah.
in a different scene in the hobby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's in the OA
he's
now.
still
So
active though. He's still watching stuff.
yeah,
Shout out to Jacob.
Yeah, that's been the hard one for me is keeping up with like everyone's like what everyone kind of has going on, man. I've been like super disconnected, man. Like filling my algorithm with other shit, like just learn. Like just again, like the common denominator here is just always like trying to learn something. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
listen,
Yeah,
I'm probably not gonna buy a day just. You know what I mean? Like chances are I
yeah,
probably won't. I'm not gonna go buy a day just because I watched a video, but I do like to see
yeah.
like the content and like whatever. But like I said, like the shoe resellers, like I think that shit's super fake. That's probably the fakest content out there. Like,
Oh, when they show up and they want to buy the whole table.
dude, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like that is the biggest like scam is shoe resellers. Like, dude, I'm not
Yeah.
spending 10 grand on that. You
And
know what I mean? Like,
there's so many red flags with me with shoes like that we've discussed in the past as far as like you don't know the print runs, you don't know this unless it's like a family and friends thing, and even that you don't know how many they made. Like
no,
knowing
but
for
but
sure
but
about
even then,
shit.
like you have people like Cool Kicks, like the that guy named Rami, like dude, if I'm bringing you a one of one, and your argument to me is going to be like, well, there's no market for it. Exactly. So how are you going to offer me 2K, bro? When you're selling, you know, some of these lobster Nikes that were not like mass printed, but they're printed more than the one of one. You know what I mean? How are you going to give me 2K and then sell that for 10K? You know?
And then on top of that, what I was trying to get to too is we've always discussed. I've always said the amount of space it takes is crazy.
Oh
And
yeah.
lastly, something Doom said like a while back, which is, bro, yeah, to the people that have the balls and the money to wear them, that's cool. But also, if I'm investing in some of that, why would I be wearing some of those things? You know,
That's the
like,
tough part.
yeah, it takes
And
the
that
joy
and
out of
that's
it.
where you lose me
Yeah,
because if you're gonna buy the fucking shoe, just fucking put it on your feet, bro. Like,
yeah,
you know.
Nah, but see, I'm gonna get back in my old school
Here you go.
shoe
we got
game
him.
bag. You
We got
can't tell me how
His scalping phase, you know, his scalper phase.
him.
you can't tell me how I collect. If I want to wear it and then a
No,
day and then stash them and then sell them used, like there's a market for that. Now
no,
you
for sure.
tell me
Hey,
a one on one shoe though. Like let me get back to this one on one because you brought up the lobster, the Nike SBs. Like one thing is, yeah, you might have a one on one custom or one on one whatever, or like low limited
bespoke.
run, yeah, low limited run Jordan, whatever. The thing about the shoe game, at least back then, I can't talk about now. Like there were staples. You had to choose the right ones. So you have to have demand for it. People didn't want certain shoes. They wanted the SBs when the SBs were a thing. I mean, they're still a thing now. There's a reason why like the MF Doom dunks are what they are, right? Like there's a reason why the pigeon dunk is what it is. Like
Mm,
it
But the
was,
shitty
yeah,
part
it
about
had
that
a high
though,
print run, but they were iconic and you have to have demand for something, even if you have something limited. And we see that with cards, even if it's limited, it has to have demand for it
correct. Yeah,
to
because you
it,
said that Sergio said this before, right? You can have a one of one, but if it's a one of one of some random ass character, good luck.
yeah, bro. Like, who cares? I mean, look,
Yeah,
a 75 gold border, 75 gold border is gonna have more demand than like some of these one on ones from Marvel Annual. Like, it just is what it is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes
But go
sense.
ahead, Sergio. I mean, I'm not trying. You're up
no,
on it. I
no,
haven't watched any shoe game stuff, so I'm just, what I mean, you got too close to it. I got to defend, the guys. You know what I'm saying?
no. But the only thing that like I don't like about shoe collecting is
Mhm.
like, oh, hey, I got these MF Dooms, like, yeah, let me sell them for 10K, and then like the guy that has the money to spend the 10K on them buys them, and he puts them on his feet and they fall apart. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
Crumble.
dude,
that's just the. I can't speak for that. That's just
I mean, is it
being
gonna
an
happen?
idiot.
Yes
You
or
know what I
no?
mean?
It's gonna happen. You know what I
You
mean? It's gonna
know,
fucking fall apart.
you know what the
Just get
we've
it
talked about this.
recreated by a custom sneaker and put that
Yeah,
in
Then
like
then
put it
then why the
a
fuck did I just
box.
spend 10K on it though? That's my point. You know?
Because
well,
some
but
people put them in a box, just like they put a sealed case in the box, a sealed box in the case. Like
It's yeah. For me, it's not that deep, bro.
it's
Like it's a fucking
it's
shoe. You know what I
artwork,
mean?
dog.
you
It
know
ain't
how
for you, dog. You know what I mean?
when people
It's
say,
a shoe with the same outline as the other shoe with a different colorway and a different little logo
See,
on the side, bro. That's just all.
that's
well,
like
well,
saying every card is the same thing. It's just a
It's
different
all
color and
cardboard,
different.
bro. It's
No,
all
no,
cardboard. Until you
no.
put a number or image on it, it's all the same shit, bro.
All right, what's the difference between all your Doom foreigns and like the US ones? Let's see,
yeah,
we
hand them
start
over
getting
to him.
into
If they're all the
that.
Languages,
same.
We can
languages, same shit though.
Oh, there you go. But you
I'm
only
not
Go
speak
ahead,
defending
two.
that
Sergio.
either.
Hey,
It's
you
the
only
same shit.
you only speak two, so don't even worry about it. Yo, but going back to that, another thing that gets me is when you see listings. You know how like with cards they'll say PSA 10 question mark. Well, damn straight that shit's a PSA 8 at best. Same thing with shoes. It gets me when people will post like some Jordan ones, whatever, at retros, and they'll be like worn ones, bitch.
No,
You got a
and the
pile of them.
lingo, the lingo, OG all, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. But the worn ones gets me. I don't know why. Worn ones are just
hey,
like
listen, the only
you cut your
valid
grass on
like
them.
lingo is if you're buying a watch with a case and the fucking card. You know what I mean? Like that
A full
makes sense.
set.
You know what I mean?
That's a full set right there. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, full set. You know what I mean? But like, OG all dead stock. Damn, shut the fuck up,
Never
dude. You know?
worn. It kept an air conditioned room. Didn't
Yeah,
smoke. I don't have pets.
yeah. Okay, you're
Wasn't vaccinated.
smoking hella blunts. You know what I mean?
I'm not vaccinated.
That's
Smoking
crazy.
hella blunts in the room, with the fucking
Yeah.
Jordans there.
I mean, I could swear though, I've heard you guys like, nah, I don't want a comic book that smells like smoke though.
I mean, yeah, and some people are gonna go with that. I'm saying so, and
That's what I'm saying,
a
dog.
lot of people, especially with the older stuff, that it yellows your shit. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and honestly, it smells like it. When a comic smells like a cigarette, that's a different situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you could tell.
So
Well, yeah,
that's just
because people were.
relevant.
No, well, this is
That's what I'm
why. No,
saying.
come on, you got to use common sense, though, dude. Like when people were reading comic books, they were adults and they were what? Usually doing what? Smoking. What do you do when you sit down and read a book? If you don't smoke, you're probably gonna drink wine. You might drink a beer. You might have a tea or a coffee. Some people smoke. You know, so it makes more sense
I've
on the
never
comics than
smoked and
shoes.
drink, but yes, probably yes, a lot more. Even clothes. People were reselling like high end clothes, like no, no smoke is a helpful description. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
there's a
See
Sergio in the
see like,
sneaker world who's disagreeing with everything Sergio in this world is saying.
and
You know what
that's
I'm
I
saying?
okay.
know.
That's okay. I want them to disagree. You know what I mean? I accept their argument. That's the difference. Some people be like, nah, and cry about it. Like, no, dude, whatever. You want to believe in that? Believe it. The only thing that I think is a valid, like, oh, okay, you know what I mean, is honestly like vintage clothes. That's like the
Nah,
only thing. Like,
bro, and I'm about to hurt your feelings because that's what I was about to get into.
well, no,
These people, bro, I looked at eBay. All you got to do for anybody that's interested is go on eBay and put in just large men's t-shirt. Just do that. Don't put anything else. Then go to sold and then go from highest to lowest. And then you'll see vintage shirts sell for like $500, $1,000. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I'll print that shit right now. Why the fuck would I pay that much for a shirt that someone wore?
Nostalgia. It's
Cool, I'll
nostalgia.
reprint it and I'll still get my nostalgia.
Yeah, but that's like,
y-
oh, why do I care
damn.
about the card I have? Just reprint the card.
This is gonna
It don't
send
work that
the
way.
image to Alibaba and get a sample. You know what I mean, for $24.
Yeah, yeah.
I was gonna send it to you, dog, so you can make me a carpet. You know what I
Like, I
mean?
don't
I
know
got
much
you.
about that world, but I do know like there's a different technique they used to use, like a different stitching
Quality.
style of certain 90s, like especially like you look at like some of those I guess the music like promo shirts and like concert shirts and all the vintage stuff.
But
Same thing
what
why
what I was
people
gonna
buy
say is like,
tickets.
I think
Used
that's a little
tickets.
bit more valid than you spending like $200 on a Hellstar shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
I
look, and I'll
don't know
say
what that is.
to the point of the quality, and I do agree with you because that's one thing I'm very picky about is just the qualities of shirts. But I'll say this then: if you let's say you want a vintage shirt, I mean, look at the vintage collars. They all say either Fruit of the Loom or whatever the brand Hanes, whatever they used, right? Gildan,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the brands are. Okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
go buy some of that a vintage shirt that's all black or the color you want, and then put on the graphic on it. There you go. Now you
Yeah,
got the
but
same
again,
quality.
you're belittling someone's hobby. Like that's
I'm
not for
not,
you.
I'm not belittling. I'm correct. I'm just saying that's exactly what I'm saying. That it's not for me.
Elusive suggestion. You go buy the fakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always get the
Yo, hit me
fix.
up. You know what I mean? You want me to make a nice graphic? You want a Batman animated series,
That's
hella faded? I'll rub that
that's
shit on
like
my drive. I'll
I,
run
I'm
that shit
just
over
saying
with my car in the driveway a couple of times, and then we're good.
Man,
again. I'm saying there's another elusive in that world looking at your Batman diecast collection. Like, bro, what the hell? Just go grab the new Hot Wheels. What are you grabbing this 15-year-old one?
Yeah, 100%. And I wouldn't mind having a conversation with that guy, just to see what's good. But yeah.
oh my god. But all the markets, like all in all, I think there's just like a correction on everything. I think there's a little bit of correction on everything. I think it was needed. You know what I mean?
I do wonder because a lot of the times the shit I sell, whether it's Hot Wheels or cards, for the most part it's here in the U.S. I do wonder how because I saw that from comics called Drone. Shout out to Misael, I believe. Um, like I wonder how the tariffs are going to affect the comic sellers that were selling in other countries to us. I think that might slow it down, or it's going to become more expensive because of the shipping, and it was already expensive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, damn, like even look at anything, the majority of like toys, like all these action figures and like these statues coming
Mm,
from China,
that's a good
like
point.
that stuff's like really getting crazy.
Well, and not to make this political at all, but I'm sure you guys remember the classic Cat Williams stand-up special, Pimp Chronicles, when he was talking about, I don't have one insurgent friend, right? Like
Mm.
the word insurgent. Whenever I feel like that's how Donald Trump got people with the word tariffs, because no one knew what it meant. Oh, tariffs, yeah, that don't bother me, right? And then all of a sudden you see how it affects you. You're like, oh shit, he bamboozled us. You know what I mean? I think that's how people are feeling with the whole tariffs thing, because they thought, oh, it's just going to help the economy. It's going to do this and this and that. Well, someone explained it well. I saw a small little clip of an interview. A guy that said he was an importer exporter for the last 20 or 30 years, and he said, "Look, when I import something, as soon as it touches the port, and I have to pay those tariffs." He goes, "You think I'm eating that? No, I'm going to charge that. I'm going to upcharge that to all my items that I had on those pallets. I'm not going
Yeah.
to eat that
Yeah.
those tariffs. You're going to
See,
eat those
but
tariffs."
but but here's the thing, and he's absolutely right. Right, in a thriving economy, in an economy that's doing well, and people are actually spending. Yes, you're gonna you're gonna get it back. But like in the situation we're in now, I think overall and as a whole, like right, not collecting space, just in general,
Yeah.
less people are buying shit. Look at the car market. You know what I mean? Like cars are just sitting
Mhm.
there. They're offering 15K off all this stuff because they're not selling the car. Why? Because you're already overcharging. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So tariff or not, again, not to get too political, but that's like let's just use the three of us here as an example. Like let's say like, hey, yo, Doom, like I'll sell you this card for 100, but elusive, I'll sell it to you for 120. How is that
Mhm.
fair? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it needs to be
That's all
fair
they're saying.
across the board, and I think that's what was going on in the global market where it's like why do I got to pay 20% of Germany, and then when they import shit here we don't even charge them? I think
No.
that's what the issue was. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, that I understood 100%. I'm just saying when it comes down to like to an individual basis, once it gets
Oh.
here, I think we get fucked
And
anyway.
and they're gonna raise the price, right?
Yeah.
And no one's gonna buy it, and then what's gonna happen?
Then they're gonna have to break down the price if they want to move.
There you go, and that's a win for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, I'm hopeful for sure, but I I think that's for sure something that people got bamboozled by just by seeing like I've been hearing it a lot on podcasts. Everybody's talking about these tariffs when they didn't understand what they were. You know what I mean? So it just reminded me of that fucking joke with Cat. Because again, it was time when the first 9/11 happened and everybody was we're killing people over there and they were like, oh, they were insurgents. That didn't you didn't know if that meant a woman or a child or a man, right? So people were like, oh, I don't give a shit.
Well, to be fair, it was all of them.
That's my point. But people that heard it from this end that weren't in the know, to them it just sounded like you were killing terrorists.
No,
Right? And the word insurgent, it's super sneaky how they come up with these things. It's almost like the Department of Defense that it was renamed. It used to be called something else. Right now it's Department of Defense. What does it sound like? It sounds like more passive. In reality, they're not defending
it's
at
the
all. They're
Department of Offense.
yeah, exactly. But they're super slick with their wording, bro.
That's the government. I mean, look, now they have like the Department of what's the Doge acronym? Government efficiency. I'm sorry, Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
I'll be honest with like like, again, not to get too political, but it's kind of scary the shit that they found, and this stuff has been happening for literally decades, and no one's ever
Those that
caught
are
on to
dead
it,
for like 100 years and they're still collecting Social Security is wild.
dude. Like no, but it sounds like whatever. Some people might be like, whatever, but it's like, dude, when you reach that age, like in retirement, and you don't get that check because someone scammed your your Social Security for 20 years ago, I mean that shit's not cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it raises a lot of questions to me because one of the things I always say is like, look, I know being Hispanic, I'm sure you guys know too. I know a lot of people that work here, they're 20, 30 years, then they go to Mexico just to be able to live off that SSI amount, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
as soon as they die, right away that shit stops. So to me, it's hella interesting that they went more. Not one. Anybody can make a. Hey, you know what, dude? I didn't check on this fool for 5 years. I didn't even know. 10 years maybe. But when you've been sending checks for 200 years, like bro, come on, stop messing around.
Yeah.
The motherfucker's not alive.
Like yeah,
So
like we know he's not alive. Like you need to stop sending the payment.
yeah, I mean, if you know math and the average lifespan of a human, that's all you need to know.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, it's I think it's not even like just like a collector. It's like a global, like legit, like global reset. You know what I mean? When I think that, part of it is probably we probably need. You know what I mean? Probably need some of that.
I don't know, man. Well, depends on what you're talking about, right? We won't get into it. We'll end it with this because there's that book called The Great Reset. I don't know about all that.
No, I didn't say the Great Reset.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to clarify for you.
Yeah.
Not on their team. Is what I'm saying.
I don't know what the fuck y'all talking about. Honestly,
You know what I mean? If you know,
I'll
you know.
just
Hey,
keep quiet.
if you know,
We
you know.
I
lost Jerome.
don't know what's.
Hey, you'll owe nothing and be happy. If you know, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Whatever
Yeah.
they said, it's their opinions. I don't watch the news. I'm sorry, I'm
No,
ignorant. Turns out,
Doom's a civilian and he's not involved. He's not.
Yeah.
I'm just
But
living my
I'm
life.
with that too.
So.
Trying to go back to the motherland. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure.
You know, because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I mean, again, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's a lot of and it's probably in the collector space too. I don't know, but a lot of uncertainty with a lot of shit. You know what I mean?
I
There's
think
a
in
lot.
the
There's a lot of
collector
uncertainty with
space,
a lot of things, and
I think it's across just everything. There's
it.
uncertainty for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. This isn't even like stuck to like a market space or just Pokemon or just whatever. Just like as a whole, you know what I mean? Like,
But I think
and
to be
again,
fair,
to the point we talked about, like that feeling, like even though like it's not like affecting me like right now very much, like is the reason why I don't pull trigger on certain things, why I don't just buy certain shit that I want to buy because like I'm just chilling, man. You know what I mean? Let's just see how this shit rolls out, see how it plays out, and we'll keep it moving.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm a huge fan. I don't know if you guys are of also George Carlin. Patrice O'Neill, rest in peace. But George Carlin would always talk about that. Like, it didn't matter who was in office, your life's not going to change much, right? So, like, I think, this, Sergio, but like, I think they thrive on the fact that people are always on that edge, like you said.
Yeah.
They thrive on you not knowing, on you being anxious. So, let's not do that.
Yeah,
No, not at all.
That approach with the collecting, right? Like what's going to be for you is for you. You could take that same approach for life. Like it's not
100%.
worth
Yeah,
over stressing about something that hasn't even happened and most likely won't happen. And if
Yeah.
it did happen and it's your time to go, guess what? No matter what you do, it's gonna
it
be.
Yeah.
is what it is. Yeah,
I guess if the Chinese tariffs go up, I guess I'm not buying sneakers. I guess we got to buy something that's not made in China.
I
Dude,
mean, it sounds
what
like you don't even like sneakers to begin with, so you're good. You know what I'm saying?
I'm honestly, I'm more of a boot guy. You know what I mean?
There you go. See,
I'm more of a boot
you're into
guy.
red ones? You're into red
As long
ones?
as it doesn't affect like my Doc Martens and stuff like that. I don't really care about a Jordan.
there you
And
go.
I think we talked about this before, guys. Like I remember going to the store and buying those Jordans. Like I'm not like it doesn't affect. Oh my god, the Jordan 4 is really. I don't care. Like I don't care. I already had those shoes, bro. You know.
You see, that's the
Yeah.
thing. You had them. Let the kids have them. They don't have that experience, dog. You know what I mean?
But but
No,
those
yeah. Look,
those are
go
kids,
ahead.
bro.
Go pay $350 retail for some sneakers. I
Yeah,
know,
let
100
them.
something. All right, go pay
These
fucking $450 for some sneakers.
Yeah,
these
dog.
guys are
Don't even worry about
all of 50 years old buying out tables. They're not kids. I don't know. So
You know,
You're right.
just saying.
Look, I haven't bought.
like how would I look like 40-year-old man with like a brand new pair of J's? Come on, man. Like,
There's plenty 40-year-old people who rock J's. That's
Well,
just
look,
part of
I will
their
say that,
thing.
sorry, that's true. You do look. Unfortunately, you do need the sauce for that. If you have the sauce, you go with the Jordans. If you don't got the sauce, you don't got the sauce. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm going into that. Like, again, I've always been more of a boot guy, but I've owned those shoes and I like the shoes. I appreciate them, but I don't think that
No, I agree
like
with
I
you.
don't
I'm
want to
just
pay $300 retail for a pair of Jordans. Like,
100%. I agree
Nobody
with you.
wants to
All I'm
pay
saying,
300
all
for
I'm saying is the
furniture.
demographic you're starting to fall into the 40-year-old plus, right? Like, there's not a lot
You're
of
just
40-year-old
aging out,
plus
dog.
that could rock them. You know what I mean?
well,
So,
that is true. Yeah, because I
yeah,
have seen some older people. I look at them and I'm like, bro, like you're like 60, my man. Like, and you
yeah,
don't have the sauce.
and it's not your
You're
style. Your
wearing like linen
style,
pants with like a some fours.
yeah, your style is more like I would assume your style is more like a goth rock concert. You know what I mean? Like that's more
I,
your thing.
I wear a lot
Brown
of black. You know
bottoms,
what I mean?
black and
But
black. Yeah,
black's definitely my favorite color
that's what I'm saying.
in
I
clothes. You know what I mean?
mean, Sergio's a classics type of guy. I mean, give him
Yeah,
some forces here and
Some
there, but
chunks.
get some dunks. You good. You're
yeah.
good to go.
And there's nothing wrong with those. Again, I'm just saying, like I'm not gonna start
I
buying
love the
like
dunk.
$300 retail Jordans. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I
No,
ain't
but
paying
that's just
$500
that's not you.
thrift shirts. You know what I mean? It doesn't make
There
sense.
you go.
But hey,
So
rock
what
out.
we learn is Sergio doesn't like crazy shoes, and Elusive doesn't get the whole vintage thing.
And I don't
It's
like
not
that.
for
Don't
him.
word it like that. What it is. And I don't like wearing other people's clothes and overpaying for them.
But
He
what if it's
doesn't like
brand new though?
wearing.
This is
Okay, if it's brand new, that's a different story. Yes, I'll pay
like
up for that.
vintage but new.
Yeah,
Like
like new old stock. Yeah, I'll do that. But if it's
Oh,
worn,
you
nah.
mean you? Yeah. What? But do you? Well, see, we don't want to get
You know
too
what I'm saying? It's a
personal, but
little bit
like
different than you thought. It's not about the
growing
fact
up,
that it's vintage. It's the fact that
no,
someone else
growing
wore
up.
it.
Let me say it for me because I know sometimes you don't like to be vulnerable, so I'll be the vulnerable one here.
All right, go ahead. I
Growing
think I'm
up
the most
poor, you know what
vulnerable,
I
but
mean.
go ahead.
We had a lot of hand me downs, so I don't like to wear stuff that's been used. I mean, because of that, there's some trauma there. So me.
Mm, yeah. No, not for me. I know that, but it was opposite for me. Like I did have my own clothes, but I did pass that on to my cousins and stuff from Mexico. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah,
that,
But
that's always the play. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's always gonna
but
happen.
that makes for them. They're
100%.
not overpaying me for it then,
Shout
though.
out to my
You know
cousin
what
that has like every fucking gaming system that I ever owned that probably like broke it or something. You know what I mean?
I mean? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
all
He
the
yeah,
has
cook
the real
shit,
bag. He has like the Ninja
yeah.
Turtles, or I'm
all the
sure he doesn't
good
even have
shit.
it anymore. You
Like
know?
that's another little trend that I've been seeing on Instagram where like people walk up to people and they'll be like, "Oh, how much was your outfit?" And these guys, it's almost like a competition of who paid the least. You know what I mean? Oh yeah,
Oh
this
wow.
belt, yeah, I got that from the thrift. That was $5. The shirt, yeah, I found this shit. I don't know, that was
Yeah.
$2. You know what I mean? And I'm like, damn, that's crazy.
These like ugly
But
Balenciagas for like 1,000. You're just like, bro, like
yeah, bro,
stop it,
yes. Have you seen that?
dude.
Where
Come on,
these it looks like fucking thrift clothing, and they're like, oh yeah, I paid 5 racks. I'm like, whoa,
$5,000
Yeah,
for yeah.
we got different.
yeah.
Got different algorithms, though.
Algorithms. Well, we've been knowing this though. Come on,
Well,
because
you got to
Yeah,
remember too,
no.
elusive. To be fair, his kids are probably on there too, so his algorithm's got to be a little bit different too.
on my YouTube it is. My daughter be watching some crazy shit, like kid shit on my YouTube. I'm like, hey, don't be doing that because now random ass fucking what is that shit she watches a lot? She watches SpongeBob a lot. Oh, the Boo Boo dolls. She's been into those things, and I'm like, that's the new Beanie Baby. I don't want to hear about that.
The one thing I don't like though, and I noticed it today. I was on YouTube earlier, and I think I watched like a video of like uh, it was like a video, and I know I've sent these to Doom a couple of times, but it was like a WNBA video, right? And I
Okay,
clicked it.
those are Doom's favorites.
Yeah, like
No, those are Sergio's
Angel
favorite.
Reese is Doom's favorite WNBA player.
Nah, watch him out. Nah, Sabrina. You know what I mean? I ride with Sabrina, you know what I mean? Champ. You know what I'm saying?
But I clicked on the video, and then I kind of backed out, whatever, and now it's like it shot me like eight more videos. Like, dude, I don't want 8 more videos. You know what I mean? Like,
Nah, you
yo,
but you
yo. So
clicked
just
on
speaking
it.
of,
I
you
think
guys know,
I think
you
you're a
guys know,
fan.
you guys know that YouTuber that plays pickup ball, the professor guy,
yeah,
right?
yeah, the
Yeah.
the OG
I'll
guy,
put up
Back
that
in
guy
the day.
against any in the WNBA league. How about that?
bro. That
Let me
guy will
Just to
see.
be
get
any
just to get
WNBA.
Doom stirred up.
Oh, you
Any
guys y'all just want to be reckless
is
on
that true though
the
or no?
clapback, huh?
Would that
That's
guy
great.
handle every girl in a
Again,
1-on-one in WNBA? True or
everyone
false?
listening, the views are theirs. Don't lump me into none of
Yeah,
this
100%.
shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're honest. That's what he's saying.
Yeah,
Thank
I mean, you said what you want to say. Y'all wild.
you. Let me tell you the video that I sent him. Right,
That's
so I sent him this
crazy.
video
that's great.
of this guy that was like in the like a semi pro tennis player, played the best female tennis player and wrecked her. How
Director.
about that?
But
Wrecked.
see, now I'm gonna get into this because you have a lot of like you're like you're a little curious George, right?
100%.
There's this thread, and then you and Sergio share. You're obsessed to see women compete versus men, and I don't
No, I don't. I
understand
We
don't
your
want to see
don't.
that.
obsession.
No.
You guys
What
find
I don't want to see that.
anytime I receive a video. Well, you just said you just clicked to Angel Reese, so you clicked it for a
No, 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 no,
reason,
no.
right?
Wait, wait, wait. It was
You
a
can say
WNBA
it, but like,
video. It was a
okay,
WNBA
wait,
video. It wasn't specifically an Angel Reese video. I think she's like, I'll put it to you like this. She's trash. Like
okay, that's fine. You can
she
have
she
that opinion.
bro, dude.
I don't
When
watch
you
her
score
play
a
that
triple
much.
double, but you caught like 10 of your own rebounds in one shot because you can't make the first shot. Like, bro, come on. Like,
It
content?
just seems like you got a lot of energy for this Angel Reese lady. I'm just saying, you don't like WNBA, but you clicked on it for a reason. So I don't know. You just got to
you gotta switch it
examine
up.
it.
You gotta switch. You gotta switch up
Okay,
the.
maybe it's your
Hey,
curiosity or something.
hey,
I don't know what's
I
going
will
on,
say
but
though, the one thing that and I think the reason why I got the video because I was watching a video of somebody like posting like making fun of LeBron and flops, and it's like, dude, don't forget he played in Miami.
Hmm.
I've always been like a pretty big, like a pretty, like a non fan of like LeBron James because how could you be the GOAT but you flop, bro? Like no one touches you and you're like throwing yourself on the floor. Like
He's
I
like a
saw a
soccer
video of him
player.
like I think it was like a recent game where like the guy like he kind of posted the ball like in front of him and he acted like he took it on the chin. He's like on the floor and like everyone kept playing the game and like LeBron's looking around like, yo, you're not gonna come help me, like, bro. I'm sorry, but to me he's not the GOAT. Like
That's. I
on that
mean,
base right there, I'm a,
yeah.
like Jordan's the GOAT.
I
It
mean,
was a
but
very different game. It was a very physical game. And that's why I
see,
don't watch basketball
that's.
anymore.
I think the story of this episode is
And then
we
another
be
thing,
getting old and our age is showing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's all it
yeah,
is.
I
And
also think, by the
you can
way,
have that preference because I also think Jordan is a goat. But
Jordan's a GOAT.
yeah. I mean, look, and to go to kind of what Doom was going to allude to earlier, but he stopped himself, is that some things are not that deep. Me and Sergio doing that, that doesn't mean we're not misogynist or anything like that. The only thing is that
I'm not.
recently,
I didn't say
no,
that.
I'm just
I
saying,
didn't.
in case
Yeah.
anybody was wondering,
Yeah. Okay.
the recent trend of all this social media stuff, and that's regardless of your algorithm, and I would say in the past 5 years, is this agenda that everybody's pushing, like, oh, equal rights, this, equal. Okay, so that's why these things come up, for at least for me,
Okay.
and I'm sure for Sergio, when
I don't
when
see
people,
these videos pop up.
you've never seen
I'm
them,
saying we just got different algorithms. You know what I'm saying?
Sergio, you believe he's never seen one of those videos, dog?
No,
I've
I
seen
don't
the
believe
ones you
that one
guys
bit.
sent me, but
Yeah,
I don't look. We can open up phones right now. All I see is wrestling, cards, and a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh. Like that is what like my algorithm is.
yeah, right
Um,
now.
yeah, but again, we're getting to. I'm just saying, you guys are very curious to watch these videos, and I'm never curious to watch them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but
Whatever it is,
but
I
we're
don't
doing the
know.
homework for you. You know what I mean? And to just look at it that
See,
way. You
but
don't have to see it.
you turn everything to homework, but you telling me you think critical of everything except for this. Hard for me to accept that when you think critical of everything.
Oh, I mean, deeply. You mean? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Like I have deeply thought about some of these things, and that's where for me it's the hilarious part. It's like the surface level of like basic physics and like physical stuff. We're not even talking about any kind of like who does what and who pays what. I'm
yes,
just talking about. It's funny that people even think that they're on the same level as men physically. To me, that's
I
hilarious.
see.
That's like
Now we
you
get
could
into a
ask
whole different
ChatGPT.
discussion.
Put it this way: ask ChatGPT right now, right? And they're supposed to be neutral right now. Ask them how many 10-year-olds would it take to beat up a 225-pound man, right? Just an average, like
I
maybe
see.
above average, right? Ask them that question. The answer is just based on physical. It's not based on, oh, that's why I said a boy. You don't have to ask a girl.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
I
to
I
me,
understand what you're saying. I'm just the premise. It just doesn't even matter to me. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, no,
Like
I hear you. I know
it.
what you're saying. To me, it's
We're just
entertaining. I think that's
yeah.
where
To
we
you,
confuse each other.
you like
I
to
get
focus in
entertained.
other areas.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
get
that
entertained by
I
a lot of things, and that's
yes,
just one of the things that happen to be
yes,
entertaining to me. 100%. I'd rather watch that than whatever reality shows or people are watching nowadays. To me,
yeah.
that's more entertaining because it's real life.
No, I get it. Look, we got different
Yeah,
entertainment
the
spectrum.
reality shows and the TV, like it's crazy, bro. Like,
I
Yeah.
don't watch no reality shit either.
no, definitely not.
I'm not intrigued by any
You
of
watch
it.
WWF though.
That's not. I mean, but that's like entertainment. See, you got something against wrestling, and I
It's
know. Like,
entertainment. That's what I just told
shout
you.
out to your dad. I
My
know
whole
because you
point
said your
was that,
dad was a fan. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, and I'll shout out to my dad.
Shout out.
But my point still remains. Like I think that does fall more into the entertainment category than it does competitive. You wouldn't agree with
Yeah,
that?
Yeah.
yeah. No,
Especially
sports
now more than
entertainment.
anything,
Yeah,
like
sports
in
entertainment.
today's world for sure. Like, I think that based on stories that like when listen to old stories of like the Undertaker, or, like some of these guys. Uh, I think the game of like wrestling was a little different back then than it is now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, same as basketball, right? It was more physical. Like people
Oh,
weren't
see, but
grabbing you as
y'all
soon as
don't
you touched them.
watch wrestling nowadays. Y'all just saying, assuming things like people were getting cut up left and right in AEW. It's they WWF, which turned to WWE.
Hmm.
They changed the way they like the way they would cut themselves, or like
Like the violence
they took the violence part out. They became more
script.
friendly, right? all
I'm
ages.
more
You
of like
know,
a
you got
D-Generation
everything.
X guy, where the guys like like hit him with
But
the.
this that exists. It's just other companies that do it, and they do it from time to time. Where like someone gets their skull busted open and they're
Mm.
bleeding everywhere. Like it happened this year or early last year, but you see it more in other
That makes sense.
companies, right? So
That
it
have come up.
exists. It's just a lot, yeah. Well, AEW is like the second biggest one, so they're kind of
What happened
more
to
nod
that?
to like that older age, like hardcore wrestling era, where
Mm.
everyone like you throwing spikes at your back and shit. Like it happens.
What was
Yo,
that you mentioned?
shout out to Mankind. I heard he was in an accident the other day, bro.
Oh,
You see
shout out
that?
to Mankind. Yeah.
Yeah, he survived too. That was a
See,
crazy crash.
that's a legend to me, man. Like for
Yeah.
sure. Like
Well, it's nostalgic to us, bro. We grew up with it.
Shawn Michaels, dog. You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
come on, like you
I
pull
was
out the
never a Shawn
Socko,
Michaels guy. I was not a Shawn Michaels guy.
I don't
I
know.
was with the guy he teamed up with. What was his team called? His duo? He had a dual part, like a
Uh, like
dual team
NWO.
part.
Oh no, it's
No,
not NWO. You said Shawn Michaels.
yeah, Shawn Michaels
Triple
was part.
H?
Yeah,
Who
Triple
was
H. There
this?
you go.
Triple H. Triple H is the GM, not like the main guy running it.
Hell yeah, he is. He was tapping the
But
daughter,
then
bro.
I was tapping the daughter, bro. Come on.
You know, it's Suegro. Hey,
the
El Suegro gave him the negocio. Don't even worry about it.
You know.
the Rock is
He's
now
like, yeah,
like
he's like, I can't drop this bag, for sure. Let me behave.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's a big bag, man. Like WWE. I mean, at this point, man, it's just yeah, that's crazy, bro.
That's
Yeah, that's great. Oh, what I was getting to just before we get past wrestling was right when you were talking about the history, yeah, because it was WWF, and then it went from Worldwide Federation to Worldwide Entertainment, right?
It was
yep.
And then
WCW World
and then
Championship Wrestling.
and then what was the other one though? Where remember that guy Sting? Where was he from? He was another duo.
WCW,
WCW.
Yeah,
which
but it was
I
called something else before. What was it called?
no, it's
NWO or
No, the group
no,
was called
those are
NWO.
factions inside it, like groups inside of the WCW. WCW was the brand.
but
Uh,
when you would watch it on TV, on the bottom left it would have the logo of WWF. This one
yeah, it
was
was
the logo.
WCW. It was WCW. Yeah.
Oh, let me look it
They
up.
had
And then
like Monday Night Nitro. They had that other programming, but eventually
Yeah,
WWF acquired them.
I'll never forget
oh,
the games, bro. After school,
Yeah.
like walking, coming home from school. I remember, dude, like yo, like it was yesterday, dude. Like coming in, watching Pokemon because I was like that was law.
Yeah.
Then you meet up with the homies and like you're running like WCW Nitro or like WWC WCW versus WWF or whatever, like SmackDown, and then like
oh,
playing until literally like it came on. Now you're watching the SmackDown, like man, like wrestling for me was super nostalgic, but like I'd have to try to get into it now at this point, bro. Like,
you know what it is too. As you're telling me that, what I think personally is like, do you guys obviously you guys remember fucking Macho Man, right?
oh
Yeah.
come
And
on,
like there were so many iconic Ric Flair. There were so many iconic characters. I think part of it for me, the reason I'm not into it anymore, is
Mhm.
because there were so many characters back then that were so like bigger than like you know what I mean. Like there were big characters before. To
Yeah.
now, like I feel like everything's been done. If that makes
mm,
sense, like everything,
Hmm.
usually any character you could think of now for wrestling, as far as like what your approach is going to be on the mic, whether you're going to
yeah.
talk like The Rock, like it doesn't matter what, or are you going to be like fucking Stone Cold cussing all the time, or are you going to be like X, Y, and Z? Like
Yeah.
it's been done. Is my point, and I think that's why.
And
I
you,
think
you know
that's
the
that
thing
is
is like
fair. But
not only has it been done right, like you have these like legendary like wrestlers, then you have your small time guys like D'Lo Brown and like it's like you have like there were so many smaller characters that were big too. You know what I mean? That were like
yeah.
I mean back in the day I don't know like maybe I'm just being like biased because that's when I used to watch wrestling, but
Yeah.
like
I
I just
think
feel like even like the smaller characters like Booker T. What's the name of the group that were like pimps?
Group, look at you.
it was I forget.
What was his name? But like
Yeah, I
I
know who
don't
you're
know. Like
talking about.
They came
And
out
he
with
was
their
with
canes and everything, right?
bro,
yeah, it was him
yeah,
and Road
I,
Dog, I think was
it
the
was
other
just super
guy.
like I don't know. Like I guess for that time and age, like it was just super like wrestling was really raunchy back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, that is
Super gritty. Like
that is yeah, it's not like that. That was its own, that's the attitude era. It's never been like that
mm.
again. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's its
Yeah.
own thing.
Yeah. I just remember
like
Stone
like
Cold.
look even then like John Cena. John Cena's a huge name, but like he wasn't in my generation of like
Correct. That's what I
watching
was about to
wrestling.
say. That's where it cut off for me too. Like when he was becoming big, my brother was into him. I
Yeah.
wasn't. He was into
No.
him and Rey Mysterio. Those were both past me.
Yeah.
Like I remember Stone Cold cracking beers and doing the Stone Cold Stunner type shit.
Yes. That's when
Yeah.
I left. After Rock and Stone Cold being like the biggest two, that's kind of where I left. And
Mhm.
when I came back, yeah, and it is true. Like even coming back, and I know a lot. Like I've been watching it 2 years now. There is a lot of like people who represent like a mix of people we used to know, and they have their own stars. It is a little different, but I guess the biggest change is like the women's wrestlers is not. It's more athletic compared to when we grew up, where there was like
More. There were ring
gravy
girls.
matches and like very
Yeah.
raunchy
You,
and stuff. Yeah.
you know what I think too, man, and to tie it all together, going back to even what like Sergio was talking about the sneakers, I think it's just basically this: the longer you're alive, and we're not even that old in comparison to like old timers, right? Like 60 plus, we're
No,
senior citizens
ask a
technically.
16-year-old if we're old, bro. We're fucking. We're unks. You know what I mean? We're
Yeah,
old, bro.
We're damn
yeah, we're
old.
unks, but we're
We're
definitely not
old.
gramps. I'm talking about gramps, right? So
Yeah.
like grandpas, the longer you're alive, the more you're going to be used to seeing these patterns, whether they're patterns again of like markets, of presidents, of trends like Beanie Babies and Labubu, of baggy clothes from the 2000s to skinny jeans to back to fucking baggy clothes. Like they're all fucking patterns. So the longer you're alive, the least impressed you are because you've seen these patterns.
I don't know if least impressed.
For
I
me,
You're
mean,
like desensitized to it. Like, yeah, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
I think we're alive long enough where we can where we have reference points,
points
right?
of references.
To
Yeah,
yeah. Um and if you are looking for something new, then you are probably disappointed, right? But it's just your approach on how you view things. Because a
yeah,
lot of like older stuff coming back into popular trending now, it's also like a sense like for me it's interesting. Like it makes me laugh sometimes. Like, oh, this is back. Okay, cool. Like it's
yeah.
just weird how things come back in style. Yeah, it's just how you view it. So,
Yeah, it's just funny to me because I mean, the same 16-year-old that Sergio's describing that was into skinny jeans and talking shit about baggy clothes, and then all of a sudden he's now that same guy 5 years later is wearing baggy clothes, and you're like, yo, what
yeah,
happened though? I thought
yeah,
you said it was all about X, Y, and Z. So
yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
mean by that is that there's a lot of like people that switch jerseys, for
And
lack of a better word.
people are gonna evolve in their ideas and how they view things, and we're gonna fall back into comfort with certain like things from our childhood too that I'm never gonna let go. You know what I mean? It's what it is. Like
Yeah.
that's what makes people interesting because everyone kind of picks and chooses what they
So
hold on
so
to.
so you're admitting that the Attitude Era was the best era of wrestling of all time.
100%. Those, I
Yeah,
mean,
bro,
Oh, then we're
I'm
good.
mankind, Stone Cold.
And
Those are
and
my
and be
guys.
honest too when I ask this though, same as you were honest with Sergio, dude.
Hmm.
It, I love how he knows her. The same way you admitted that. Would you admit that if you got in a fight with either of your sisters, you'd win?
Well, I would never fight my sisters because I
Yeah,
never
but
got
let's
in a
say they
fight
weren't
with
related
them.
to you.
I
You know what
don't
I'm
like those premises because they would never happen. See, that's what I'm saying. Your curiosity always wants to make them
saying?
compete. Like I'm just saying, some people exist without competing. You know what I'm saying? Like
No,
it's
for
just what
sure.
it is. Yeah.
But it was less about the
I
competition, more
could
about
I
the
could
overall point.
never like if
Because
we're
if you
just
ever call
matching
me,
strength for strength. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
gonna be stronger than
that's what
of
I'm saying.
course.
Because if you ever call me saying
But why?
your sister beat you up, I mean,
But
I
why you
don't.
got to do it in the it's always a fight or a competition or something like crazy. Like why
Because
don't
that's
you
the
just
only
put,
way.
hey,
Because that's how
there's
you cut through. I'll give you. This will be too deep for people, I think. But I'll say this though. I think it's just because that it gives me the purest answer because now you're actually thinking. When I don't raise the stakes in any kind of scenario, at least mentally, then your brain is on autopilot and it's just going to answer it. However, but if I make it a very specific scenario, now you got to actually think.
and
That's why.
here's my thing about that. I think that's the way it works for your brain, but I don't think that applies to everyone else. So sometimes when you throw a scenario like that, people are like, "Wait, what?" It
You make
you're
them stop and
already
thought
altering the way they think about that premise. When if you put it in a different way, then it would be equally as honest. It's just not like
That makes
you
sense. You're saying if I would have asked the question instead of fighting, if you arm wrestled your sister, that would have
right,
been okay.
right. because I think that's just the filter. And I've known you long enough for like this is how you view things, and this is how you like to measure things together, to
Yeah,
compare things. But
yeah.
I just think everyone has a different
That
calibration of how they compare things.
that makes sense.
That's all.
Yeah, I need like Chat GPT or like Manu to redo my questions. You know what I mean? To
Yeah,
make them more political. Because
yeah.
Manu can tell you some shit, but he'll say it in like, it sounds good. You
Well,
know?
look, Manu. Yeah, exactly. Like
Shout out to
Manu
Manu.
can, he can. Yeah, shout out to Manu. He can definitely reword a question very in
Yeah,
his own flair. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So that's what makes him him.
That's what I'm saying. But yeah, yeah, that's what definitely I've always looked to him up to him about that. Like the way he's a wordsmith, bro. I've always said it. So yeah, I definitely could
Oh, I mean,
could use that.
yeah,
For me, I'm more blunt, and I think that's
yeah.
why. And I'm blunt with the people I should be blunt with, like you guys. Like you said, you've known me long enough. But the fact that this is something that's recorded in public makes it a little bit different.
Well, I also want people not to lose that context because then it could come across differently. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, that's why.
be
Remember,
aware
I
about
even
that.
clarified that me and Sergio were not misogynists or anything. We're not Andrew Tate
No,
fans or anything like that. You know what I mean? Allegedly.
And then actually, in comparison, like honestly, I grew up with a lot of women. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My argument is always like when dude, you had that guy that legitimately he almost like killed that girl. I'm like, dude, what? Like that shouldn't even be happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy.
there's a,
Because
Yeah.
there's a
at
lot
the
of
end, that
crazy things
to,
out
to
there.
to Dude's point, that could be your sister. And how would you feel if you were gonna go fight some dude? Like like
Yeah.
That's
I don't care.
crazy.
Well, you can call
Which,
yourself whatever you want. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like you got more muscle mass than she does. Like period. But just naturally, like, and
Yeah.
that's just not fair.
yeah,
That's the way I see
and
that.
I'll tie this in with the wrestling topic because we briefly went through it. There's things where there's like I guess intergender wrestling where you have men and women wrestling, and
I've seen
there's
that.
right, and there's people, and like I've seen them too. Like there's current superstars who've had matches before, like in the indie circuit, and there's a man versus a woman, and it's not out of the norm. But even then, it's difficult for me to watch that too. Like
Yeah.
I can suspend. How do you say it? Disbelief, or how do people say?
Yeah.
It? Well, you can like, it's not 100% real, but they're taking real like bumps, and it's just like, yeah, I'd just rather not watch that. I'd just rather watch,
Yeah.
you know.
To me, it's the same comparison that you just made, Sergio. Or the thing about the fight, it's no different to me than if I heard an 18-year-old senior in high school beat up a fifth grader.
Yeah.
Like that's fucked
Yeah,
up. You know what I mean? Like no matter how you
or
say it, oh well, he's the 10-year-old started it. Yeah, bro, but you're a grown ass man.
it's no excuse. Yeah, or
Yeah,
like a teenager like assaulting an elder like in the streets. Like
yeah, that's
I
another one.
remember not too long ago, it was like
Why
a
is that been a thing too? Like people
bro.
uploading videos of that. What's up with that?
I remember that being a thing like a year or two ago, and like I remember like in New York, there was like this whole thing where people were knocking out older people, and again, I'll admit it though, I have two like elder parents, like that hits close to me. So I'm like,
Mm.
when I would see something like that, that's why I just stay away from certain things because
It
it
should
would
get you
upset
angry.
me. Like it's just,
Yeah,
bro, like yeah, no, but shout
yeah,
Yeah,
out to everyone. I
I
hope
think that's the
everyone's
whole
doing
like
well.
internet desensitization of like people fall into these loopholes or like these wormholes of like weird content or whatever shit like that, and like you have these kids like send it to their little friends and then they send it to their friend and think it's like cool. It's like, dude, like, see,
Yeah,
I don't know, like I know you're living in like is Texas considered the South or the Midwest or the South, right? Like the last
South.
like South
This
state.
is South. This is
See, like
South.
you're living in the southern state, like you loosely living on that side. Like, dude, you play that shit over here. People, we don't even need licenses anymore to carry. You know what I mean? Like, you don't understand. Like, yo,
Oh,
these young kids don't understand. Like, bro, like,
it's
yeah,
bad
I don't
out
know.
here, dog. Yeah,
They're growing up in a different time, bro. Like, I would never disrespect someone like that, or I mean, listen, everyone's different, right? Everyone grows up different. People fall into different like life situations, but uh, yeah, that's some shit that like, dude, I'll lose my life. I'll lose my life to take yours to not let you do that to my loved ones. Are you crazy? Like
yeah, dude. And speaking of
yeah,
that, I
that's
crazy?
mean, I don't know if
crazy.
you guys heard this, but even Japan is going through this recently, where
Mm,
they have such a big what's the word, population of elderly that they don't have enough young people that are going to look after them.
mm.
right?
That's
Because
crazy.
most of
Well,
them were they
I,
were limited to having two
and I
kids.
think I read an article about that. I think it was like in the next like 20 years, like it's gonna be pretty iffy for like the Asian market, you know. Um,
Yeah,
but I mean, dude, like it's a crazy time, you know. Like, and again, that came from what? From these people putting like their own policies on their people, right?
yeah,
And I don't know. I mean, I also think it's like a generational thing because I think less. I mean, I'm not saying that obviously people are having kids, but I think these new generation are even less trying to have a kid. You know what I mean? So that
yeah.
might happen in the U.S. maybe in the next like couple decades, but definitely not like it's going to happen in China and Japan. Like I think that, like I feel like their clock is like running. Like there's like a countdown on their shit. Like you guys need to start breeding like ASAP. You know, there's going to come a point where one of these like cultures collapsed literally because they just didn't breed enough. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
So
Yo, dude, you need to go out there and help the people out.
How
Well,
populate,
yeah.
yeah, come on, bro.
Throw some lechita out there,
bro?
dude. You
Yeah,
got to spread the seed.
exactly. Spread the seed, and you're gonna be in Japan, so you can, ship us some stuff over here.
Wow,
You know
that's
what I'm saying?
crazy. Now you're trying to label me like some sort of like.
I'm telling you.
I will say this on like the bro people. Oh
Oh, he
no,
left.
and
What'd you
then
do? What'd you
just
say?
when we're getting to Sergio just dip. What?
Nah, he'll be back. He
I'm
probably
gonna leave
something
this in too. Like
on
Sergio
his
just
laptop.
dropped.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just to clarify, when people were talking about it was all Sergio when he's talking about the whole scheduling stuff. Just so you guys know, he's back. Look at him.
No, that's not true.
It is
No, but like
100%.
the people having less families, bro. Everything's getting so expensive now. Like even to have a
Yeah,
family is compared to what when our parents were having us. Like, it's different world, bro.
it
Yeah,
is.
like,
But yeah,
listen, I have
I hope
one, and
people
I
have.
fear like what would happen like financially if I had another one. Well, you know what I mean? It's just a lot, bro. You know what I mean?
It's just a lot.
It's a
Yeah,
lot, and
and the crazy thing
everyone's
is,
situation is different. But I mean, at the end of the day, like,
that's what I was gonna say because you're almost towards the end of it. Like you're not even at the beginning of it. You're like in a couple of years, he's good. You know?
Yeah.
yeah, and then hopefully I'll be taking care of grandkids and stuff like that the next like maybe 10 years. But it's definitely one thing that like I tell him like because like we like we come from like an analog generation, right?
Mm.
Like
Hmm.
we didn't have like we're that middle like generation where like we had the Super Nintendo, and now we have PlayStations, like we saw that, like we went through that, and like I tell my son, I'm like, dude, like I'll be here to help you, but get ready, bro, because this world's moving way different than you know what I mean. And I'm sure our parents thought the same thing when
Yeah.
they went from their 20s to their 30s and 30s to their 40s, and they're like, fuck,
Yeah, it's funny because I saw a
Yeah.
video a while back of like someone that was like a farmer that was like either 90 or like in this almost 100.
Mm,
And he was talking about the same shit you're saying. Like every generation feels that way, that they've seen a lot of changes. He's like, oh, I was alive during the Industrial Revolution. I was alive during this. I was like, during the .com era. Like we've been alive, like you mentioned, through a lot of like leaps as far as technology goes.
mm.
Do you feel the same for our kids? Do you think our kids are going to see as many leaps or less leaps?
They're gonna see more leaps, but like they don't understand the hardship is my problem. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like when everything is so easy and accessible. Like for example, like dude, sometimes you talk to some of these young kids, dude, and like they ask these questions, and I'm like, bro, if I had the access that you have to the information that you have, you wouldn't be asking me because I would already know. You know what I mean? Like it's like you literally like you have to bring the horse to water with like the new generation. You know what I mean?
I don't know
Like
if that's a
I feel like our
generation,
generation has a little bit more chispa. Like it has a little bit more like little
like a
more
sense
like
of
snap.
urgency. A sense of urgency. I think what it is, bro, is I don't think it's a generational thing as much as it kind of like what Doom was saying earlier about it's more of a personality type. Like all three of us here do homework. That doesn't mean that everybody
Yeah.
likes to do their homework and research, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of the technology available. There's people right now, our same age, that got into collecting at the same time we do, and they didn't go balls deep into the research like we did.
Yeah.
Why? We're the same age.
Yeah.
Why didn't they do that?
It's just more interested into like
Yeah,
the way they go about it. Yeah.
We'll definitely see. Like I feel like I mean shit, even my mom, like thinking back to like my mom, you know, she was, we did analog. She was there before that shit didn't even exist. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, Black and white TV.
like black. If you even had it, if you even knew what a TV was, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and now they have phones glasses that are fucking like putting code in front of your thing where you can see, like, yeah, it's just crazy. Like, yeah, so
I think.
I think technology wise, yeah, I think we're like advanced, but like,
Do you guys think? Part of me thinks that like there's not as much as creativeness, right? Like going back to technology,
yeah,
I'll give you two examples, right? Like when there was no audiobooks, reading you would have to imagine whatever the fuck the characters you thought they'd look like.
Yeah.
yeah,
And then even to take it further, when people were listening to boxing matches in the radio,
mm,
they had to imagine what was going down in the ring just by listening to the
no,
commentators.
yeah,
And now it's like, dude, like even with
everything's too
ChatGPT,
accessible,
yeah, well, yeah, like they have too many answers in their fingertips. To I feel like people think less now in
yeah.
general.
And you would assume by having more information they will think more, but they don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
because they
think
see it as like,
They
oh,
have the tools, but they think less.
because the way they see it is the same. What you just explained is this. They see it this way. They're in Las Vegas, right? And you have those escalators that move by themselves. You know what I'm talking about? Where you're walking. People are like, why would I walk when I could just get on that?
Yeah,
mhm.
That's how they see it. Yeah.
I I think what I notice, like in the current world we live in, compared, like when I think about my youth, it, it's just overstimulation. Like everything is getting you, either trying to get you excited about whatever, this or this new movie or this, like everything's like building hype at all times, and there's so many things to watch, so many things to listen to, like
but
you're
that's
not
but see,
really.
but to that same point, I think you're so overstimulated that you desensitize yourself to like everything.
Yeah. And you don't allow for that quiet space or that space to like use your creativity. I think people have to actually work against the current, uh I guess, normal
Yeah.
state
Lifestyle.
of the world to actually tap into your creativity,
Mm.
or just thinking, bro. Just you
Just
got to
your
make
thoughts. Yeah.
things quiet because everything's loud.
Yeah, and even if you think about like all the greatest philosophers, or a lot of whether it's like whomever you want to think about, but one of the errors I think about the most, for example, when it comes to that, is the Romans, right? And why did they have that a bit of availability to think that much? Is because that was during peaceful times. They didn't have to do nothing but
Mhm.
chill. Like I think we mentioned this before. I didn't even know this, by the way. But these motherfuckers, it was so they had so much abundance and so much free time, which is why they were able to think so much, right? But
Mhm.
also they would eat so much they would throw up just to keep eating. I didn't even know that.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like when you see those photos of them laying down sideways eating grapes or whatever, like
Hmm.
just
they would have little bowls at the bottom. They would throw up and then just keep eating.
just like
Just
being like gluttony.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
to pass time, I
yeah,
guess.
because they had nothing better to do. So I think
Yeah.
it speaks of our times currently now, where you don't have those times of, like you said, like to self reflection. Like, why do you think a lot of popular shows now is like, oh, can you survive in the wilderness for fucking 30 days? Right? Shit we used to
Yeah.
do all the time is now like a fucking challenge. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah, it's
And
wild.
I guess, like any time, like you just gotta have a balance, because if you don't, then you just get lost in the sauce, whatever it is.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Let's start shout outs. Sergio, come on. You the one that starts it off for us, dog.
I gotta go
So
first.
yeah.
Shout outs is your section, dog.
Yeah, I mean, in this hobby space, you know who gets the shout outs, man. Shout out to the regular people I talk to on the regular, man. Shout out to you guys for sure. We gotta try to lock it in, elusive. Stop trying to keep us up till like 4 in the morning.
I haven't done that in a minute.
He tried. He tried the other day.
Right?
But yeah, man.
Well, to your time, maybe that's right. Maybe that's true. I see that. So,
Just
for me, it was 10 o'clock.
and then comes on the show and blames it on me for not. Just shout out to all the good people out there, man. I'm not gonna single anybody out. You know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to a lot of people in the hobby. That are still doing their thing. It's cool to see new collections come up here and there. Like people that follow me that have never followed me before, I'll check out their page, and you can tell just by when they open their Instagram and the kind of things they're collecting that they're newer to the hobby, which is dope to see. So shout out to everybody that's new to Marvel cards and enjoying it. If you happen to stumble upon our podcast, anti shout out to Sergio for never answering text. I'll say that. Regardless of
Mm.
what he says about the schedule stuff, you know what I mean? He wouldn't even text you back. So if you have an emergency, definitely don't text Sergio. He's not going to be there for you.
I'm the worst texter, bro. I really am.
100%.
Like I can't
Um,
even deny that. You know?
yeah. Yeah, but that's going to be. Do I have another anti shout out this week? No, other than that, that's it, man. Again, shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to everybody in the hobby. And Norin, give me a call, man. We're not in our feelings anymore. Let's talk, man. Let's chop it up.
So you guys are in your
uh,
feelings? That's crazy.
shout outs. Yeah, shout outs to all the homies. Shout out to people asking me about Sergio. I mean,
I'm alive,
uh,
guys.
good to hear Sergio back. It's good to hear Elusive too. Shout out to everyone who made it at the end of the podcast without judging us. You know what I'm saying?
AKA
Um,
me and Sergio, because we're winning in the heart.
yeah, and shout out to shout out to the people that've been around for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I talked about it with Fausto's talk the other day, and it's still, shout out to all our past beefs, past you know, judgment.
So does
Shout
that
out to
mean?
all.
Can I
See,
mention
look at you.
something?
See,
Can I mention? No.
look at it.
Oh,
Go ahead.
because
Go
I
ahead. Yeah.
mentioned mine. You know
Yeah.
what I
No.
mean?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So does that mean we're cool with certain people? I'm not gonna mention names. I'm not.
I'm cool with everybody, dog.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're not. You'll unblock anybody at their request now.
I don't have anyone that I know from 4 years ago blocked
Mm,
for a while. It's been like a long, mad long.
okay.
I
Never
just
mind.
don't say it.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
afterwards. You'll probably say, "Oh yeah."
Nah, I'm cool with everybody. Look, I was in my feelings some of those years too. You know what I'm saying? Like you've been around long enough, you misunderstand, or you have your moments where you get mad at people and or they misinterpret what you do and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's we're too old to be having beefs. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah.
just
Well, especially when it comes to
so,
this kind of hobby,
and
more than
it's
anything.
yeah, and it was never really beef. It's just
Seeing
uh
things differently. Look, it's kind of
yeah,
like what we mentioned off air. It's a lot of egos involved. Ego gets involved. It's a
hundred
lot of
percent.
fear of missing out, and you add to the mix the fact that you were able to make money. Then people are going to get defensive about things, right? Because they're going to want
Yes, I feel like we got in a very competitive moment, and
to.
especially in the Marvel cards, right? Just getting in, and we kind of knew there was a pop coming and there was a boom coming, even though I didn't expect it to go as crazy as it did during the PMG boom and all that stuff. So I think a lot of those moments in our like mission to get what we wanted, people created, their own beefs and enemies, or you felt like you felt slighted by certain groups, and
Yeah,
like you're around long enough, then like, oh, I understand the person who's probably hesitant to help me out when I got in. You know what I mean? Like it's just because now I lived through a cycle where like, oh, I understand their point of view a little bit, or you kind of get a bigger perspective once you've been in the hobby long enough. And honestly, like for I think it's safe to say for us three, like it's always about like having fun while we collecting and like flip cards or enjoying the actual hobby. So I don't know how many people. Well, actually, I do know how many people had the same perspective because they're still around, right? Those who aren't,
yeah,
they were here for one of those things, but not everything. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
and it's nice to see those people because, like, you have a lot of things in common with them, even though we're different personalities for sure,
yeah,
and different walks of life, and like you gotta learn to play with each other too. Like, it's not like everyone's the same, or like some people are open up after a while, some people are more
Yes,
hesitant to open up. So
I think
yeah.
that's a good thing, man. I think what I noticed the most is that I knew this innately about people in general, but in the
Mhm.
hobby, like people have different like where they
Their own limit.
where they draw the line. Like
They have their own limit. Yeah.
yeah, everybody has their own personal limits and
Hmm.
how much they want to share in the hobby about personal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They have their own lines about like how like things that they're open to discuss and what are like things that are off limits to them. So
Hmm.
I think for me that was like the most complex thing to navigate is like because I'm an open person. If you get to know me, I think I could say this with absolute certainty. Other than Sergio, even from us three, believe it or not, me and Sergio and me are probably more even open than Doom. Doom will still not share certain things, not because
Hmm.
it doesn't. I guess I would say this, not because if you ask him, he won't tell you, but he's just not going to tell you without you asking him. That would be the best way I could explain
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And me
Hmm.
and Sergio will tell you shit without you even asking us nothing. You know what I mean? Like we just have fucking diarrhea of the mouth. So for me,
Hmm.
it
It's a
took
gift
a
and a
while to
curse.
get, huh?
It's a gift and a curse. Yeah.
For sure, 100%. Some people use that against you, and it is what it is. But for me, that's what it took for me a hard time to get used to. Is like this person doesn't really want to share much. Okay, well, or this person doesn't want to talk about this because it's sensitive to them, or it hurts their feelings,
Hmm.
or I'm like, oh fuck. Okay,
Hmm.
so it, to me, that's what the hobby felt like the most when it came to interactions. Is like, what can I talk to things? What kind of things can I talk to people about, and what can I not? Like a perfect example is what Doom brought up earlier when he corrected me on like the example I gave about fighting his sister. When he pretty much
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
"Hey, you could have got the same answer if you would have just worded it differently."
Word
That's
different.
been
Yeah.
my thing for sure. I can't put that on people. That's all on me. Where the way the words I choose to use instead of like for me, I'm just trying to give you the example and analogy, and I'm not worried about the feelings as much. But once you break it down to me, then I could adjust and censor it for you. But if you don't, if I don't think you're the censoring type of person, then I'm going to be
Hmm.
pretty blunt. And like Sergio's always said,
Right.
I'm not everybody's favorite flavor of ice cream for sure.
No, nor do I want to be.
Yeah,
Yeah. Everyone is personality is different, and I understand when you say those things, but like the way people phrase things, either it lets certain people close off themselves, or it lets people be more open to you, right? And
yeah,
every I navigated to with it too. Like people have their line in the sand on many things. Like what is taking advantage of someone who collects this because now you're selling them this, right? And like
mm,
there's a lot of the drama in the hobby over the past 4 years that I've seen is because people have different gauge. Like, no, well, 20% is just 20%, or 30%, or 50%. Like everyone has their own view of what the proper percentage of selling something is, or the proper time to give someone
yeah. To pay
an
an
offer
offer.
is, right? Like it's just everything. And then when you start including like different personalities that interpret things differently and they have their
Yes.
own, like,
And some people, to your point,
it's
some
just
people don't even
endless.
say they just see it as straight business, and they don't like to
Yes.
mix the fact that there's friendships involved. So that's what I'm saying. It
Yep.
takes a long time to adapt to people's personalities for me. Like, oh, okay, this
Yeah.
person is very sensitive when I bring up this. Like, this person like doesn't like to be told what people really think about him. This person
Yeah.
doesn't really, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, okay, well, and you find out, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? You're like, okay, well then, I don't mind again, but that's just me. I don't think,
Yeah.
unless it's a private conversation, which I can't recall, maybe, but
Mhm.
I don't really remember someone telling me something publicly that made me go, oh, I wasn't too comfortable in that situation.
Mhm.
I can't remember that, but that's just me.
Yep.
I'm sure privately, maybe someone has told me something that did make me think about it, or shout out to Victor. I've had some good conversations with Victor, as we all have.
Shout out to
Uh,
Vic. Yeah.
But yeah, man. So that's the main thing about the hobby, man. And like you said, that's why 4 years, you see the people that have stood the test of time, as long as we have at least. And that doesn't mean that there's people that have been doing it way longer than us, but at least you get to see, okay, well, they've been around there. Then, like you said, for a lot of more reasons than just money, because otherwise they would have been gone by now.
Yeah,
So it's cool to see that.
and just similar faces, like yeah, just seeing familiar faces or familiar people. Also, people change over time in the hobby and the way they either get more comfortable with the hobby or not. And, uh, people are more vocal than they were before. Like like you said, like you and Sergio say things. Like when I first got in here, I was quite like I never got on camera. I never talked to no one. I was just doing my own thing. I was just posting images,
Mhm.
and now like I'm everywhere. It feels like sometimes, and it's I never envisioned that. Like I'm very social, where real life is difficult for me to be social to begin with. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
uh that's that's the thing about it. So we
And
all kind of transform, and when we get to know a hobby, you get to know a group of people, and you get to get comfortable, and just be more vocal about what you think, and be vulnerable to being wrong about what you think too. Because a lot of things I used to think about the hobby itself, like I probably disagree with myself from 4 years ago. So
yeah, yeah, that makes sense, man.
and that's just um getting older. You know what I mean? The theme of the episode is just getting older and
Yeah,
And hopefully wiser.
appreciating. Yeah, yeah, and appreciating what the hobby has done over the years, and what it keeps doing. Like it's still entertaining for us somehow, right? In some aspects. So
yeah. I think for me, man, last thing I'll say is when you were breaking down, even like I remember that, like the evolution of you not being on camera to getting comfortable with it. But
hmm
one of the things I always notice is like the people that I've and I don't have to mention all of them, but because you guys know them, but just to mention a few: Brian, Marvel Cars Up, and Victor, because I've done a lot
yep,
of content with them in the past, including
yep,
yourself. Is like what I identify as like if I could have a good conversation behind the scenes, like not even on camera with anybody, Sergio as well. Like those are the people that I would want to have a conversation with on camera,
hmm
right? So that's one thing I always noticed about you guys, especially Doom. I told you, like, hey man, it'd be good if you did videos because like the way you're talking to me, if you could just do the same thing, but
yeah,
on a
yeah,
camera,
yeah,
you're gonna be good. You know what I mean? Like because you're
yeah,
good at conversating. So that's to me, anybody that's looking to start a podcast, if you want to have, unless you're gonna do it by yourself, that's on you. But if you're doing it with multiple people, I would say, and I noticed this, and this is no knock on anybody. I've said this to you guys privately, but when you see certain people doing videos together and it's kind of awkward, it's because they don't have chemistry. Like you can't do videos with people just for the sake of doing videos with people. That's another thing I learned the hard way over the
hmm
past couple of years.
yeah,
Like you have to do videos with people that you actually want to speak to, or you've actually already spoken to, and you have a lot of things in common. But that would be my biggest advice to people that are looking to create content as far as podcasting is do it with people that you actually get along with, and also people that you could push their boundaries because again as we mentioned before, if the lines that they have for you you cross on the daily because that's just who you are, it's not going to work out. So
yeah,
you don't want to change yourself, right? Just like you don't want to change the other person. You want to make sure that it's just a mutual thing. Like we get along. It's a safe space, quote unquote. I could say what I feel without you judging me for it, or vice versa. That
yeah,
would be my biggest takeaway for anybody. Like I see content being made, and it's dope content around the hobby. But when it comes down to the actual individuals getting along, you could tell they don't really mess with each other like that. But they're doing content together. So, you know,
yeah. Some people are
that's just
working it
advice.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like our first episodes weren't as they're way different than they are now. Like this one, you know what I mean? Like it's just you can just listen to the changes over the time.
yeah,
But also like you have to respect the people you're talking to. Without respect, it doesn't work at
yeah,
all. So that's it.
yeah. Like I
But
remember
shout out to
Sergio.
everybody, man.
Yeah, shout out to I remember Sergio's early on. I remember anytime you would talk to Sergio, you thought you were fucking interrogating him. So
It was,
now, you know what I mean? Now look at
because
him. Now he's an informant. You know what I mean?
Informant. It's crazy.
Yo, you guys have a
I
good
can't be
one.
the informant one, but I
gotta
talk
end
to
it
people
there.
probably the least. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's what all informants say. You know,
You know, I got the receipts. You know what I mean?
and so do they. I'm saying. I mean,
Open your DM, elusive. Open your DM.
you keep telling me things you have in common with informants. They also keep
No,
listening.
open your DM. You know.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, it was fun to have a chat with you guys back, and I'm sure we'll do it again, whether it's in a week or 2 weeks or whenever, guys. But
For sure.
you guys take it easy.
For sure.
Man.
Peace.
Later.
Peace.